It's still broadcasting. Hold on. I get to blame Tim on this.
Get me back to shield.
Refresh.
Never blame the guy in chainmail, dude. Now that's
Just refresh. Just refresh.
Yeah, that's
good
not
advice.
necessarily
Just refresh.
a healthy proposition.
I know. All right. We tried. Hopefully.
It wasn't me. I wasn't crying on duty.
Oh my God. That's just wrong, man. So I'm all frazzled now. I'm so freaking frazzled.
This is why I don't have hotkeys yet.
Yeah.
refreshing.
All right. So.
Yep.
Put the headset on and be 6-second delay. It won't be a big deal over there. Just refresh both those. And okay. So editions. We're actually getting a little bit of a discussion here.
Yeah.
Trivia question. Let's move this so I don't kill myself and impale myself. Trivia question. Behind me, down the basement, is the reference books that my players are allowed to use. Okay, and there's a stack. Which edition has the most books that they can pull out and utilize as for reference?
Two.
Sorry, I shouldn't have.
Will said 2. John, you say 3?
I said 2E.
2E. Anyone else with an answer?
Three for me, but I don't know how much you have it. Yeah.
You cheated, Bill. All right. Here is the pile. Ugh.
It's
1E there on top.
Here's our 1E books.
Yep.
All right. There's our 1E. This is a little bit of a trick question because all of the blue and brown, like specialty 2E books are not in that pile. They are all over in the shelves because I usually don't have, I have one copy of these. These are workable, crappy copies. Here's my 2Es. So you got
technically, John and I are right then.
No, it was in the pile. Player's Handbook.
Oh, the pile.
You didn't say in the pile. You
I
said
did say in the pile.
Did you? Oh, okay. All right.
Player's Handbook, Tome of Magic, Player's Option Book, right? And then here is the 3 and 3.5 books, and there's more of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of them.
yeah.
Relics and Rituals, Player's Handbook 3, Relic and Rituals Excalibur. We got Eldritch Sorcery, and then we got the Monty Cook Halamites and the Spellcasters. What do you got? The Eldritch Mites as well. So there you go. The answer is actually 3rd.
Wow.
Does that make all right? What does that mean?
I was right.
You were right. You were absolutely right.
Yeah, I guess 3rd edition.
Yeah,
is-
when it
that-
comes right down to it, that means just Anne is right.
Yeah.
Anna
No,
is
but
right.
it's simply because I just assumed
Hey,
because
Raphael.
there is way more 3rd edition content than for any other edition.
You got that
Wow.
right, though.
I will say this. I don't know about that because if you go to all the complete handbooks and the complete book in Necromancers, Monstrous Mythology,
Yeah,
you got Book of Book of Bards, Book of Rangers, but we
Yeah,
we pull a little bit from all of them.
Yeah.
The Drow of the Underdark book. That's actually one ebook, I believe. Right? Is
Yeah.
that one right there, Carlos? You remember that book?
Well, yeah, I was actually going to make a comment about this. I've actually done research on this because being a publisher myself, and Anna's right, because of third-party books.
yeah, the D20,
Because of
exactly,
third-party
the
books,
D20
OGL
license.
opening it
Yep,
up to so
mhm.
many other companies.
Yep. There's
Yeah,
like
they've
ridiculous
got
amount of
most
books.
content.
No, that's actually a really good point because if I look on my shelves, ironically, it's the opposite. I play 3.5, but I don't think I have a single 3.5 book on my shelves. I have all the electronic open gaming license stuff.
Yep.
I have more 1E books on my shelf than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, but for content, for raw page count, Anna's
Yeah.
right on that.
Yeah, I think that's because that's what I read and from people that study this topic too, that the 3.5 or the 3rd edition with
And the only
3.5.
reason I know that is kind of having to know it.
Yeah.
It is it's just an interesting thing. I wanted to start out the discussion for editions we're going to have. I was like, man, look at this. It's more than half, 50% 3.5, 3.5.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that when we incorporate something in, it's not like like the spells in Art Arcana. Like Carlos, myself, Tim, we know the Art Arcana spells. We don't know which spells, like from second edition, we pulled in. Like I'll give you one, Spectral Hand, and then there's third edition spells from the Player's Handbook, like Searing Light, right?
Yeah.
That we use Shield Other, that we use. A big one, Magic Fang, Druidic, that's pulled in from third edition. And they don't come right immediately to your head like all the first and second edition stuff does. So I think that's why we have them there. I mean, I just thought it was a neat thing. Everyone's like, oh, you're old school 1E, 2E, and I believe I am. And that's what we'll decide what everyone is tonight, hopefully. But just an observation. So on that. So where do we want to start here? Scott, you're first because you are the newbie here.
Okay.
All right. So talk about all the different types of shows you have on Wily Hobbit, and then come to just where do you think you are personally, if you can?
Yeah. So my first stream, probably a year and a half ago, when I got enough laptop to do it, was actually in. I want to hold this up. I got to kill my background, but this was the first thing I ran because I'm a Keep on the Borderlands junkie.
Oh,
that was my very first game. I believe that's what came in the basic edition box.
That's right.
And the Caves of Chaos, man, I still got Cave H of the Bugbear, and Cave M is the Minotaur, and Cave A is the Kobolds. I mean, so when I had a chance to start running my own game, I wanted to play back in the day stuff. But when I first started getting back into D&D, because I was off between probably 91 or 2 and 2018. I didn't play any D&D, so I missed all of 3, 3.5, and 4. And I started trying to find 1E books because I thought, I can't learn 5th edition. There's no way. I'm an old school guy. And it turns out I haven't gone back to the old stuff because the new stuff is so much more user-friendly. Jump right in and play. So we ended up running a 5E campaign with the Goodman Games book. And running, ironically, we never did run Keep. We ran Into the Unknown and Cascaton and all of that. But my DM style, I like to run published stuff, but then I mess with it and tinker with it. And I put homebrew in it, and I put villains in it, and I put it where I want. And, with the B1 and B2 modules, I could never find out where on earth they took place until I started watching. I think I asked in here on one of these Gabbin shows, where in the heck is the Keep on the Borderlands? And Anna helped me find it in her map where you've located it.
Yeah.
But I ended up putting it up in the county Knurl is where I put the start of our adventure, Edgefield and the Great Northern Kingdom,
I think
up around the Adri Forest, up through Knurl and the Blue Hills.
Yep.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and then we ended up putting the queue. I called it the queue for the game. We put it all the way up in the where the Rakers and the Gamboge kind of come together, just because there's nothing up there. So who's going to question that? If I get some kind of lore police, come out.
And it's
And it worked out
Borderlands.
great. And we
Yeah.
went through the entire B1. Yeah, we went through the whole B1, and then we ran out of B1 and it turned into homebrew. And we played that game for a couple of years. And it was a blast, and it turned into pure homebrew. And so I ended up having to use stuff from like Greyhawk Mike's resources, things I've learned on here. Anna's maps, incredible. But you can make beautiful homebrew for any edition. That's what I love about this. And Asher the Bear made an interesting point how all these editions stack up and play and feed one another. I love, and that was some of what I wanted to hear is how do you mash up, maybe a module or a location from an old module into a 5e, or like our Sunday game. Jay asked about our channel. Our Sunday game we play. We started the Hamlet module, right, the classic, but we're playing Pathfinder 1e, and Wu-Tang Piglet DMs that game beautifully, and got it nice and dark and gritty and consequences. And every session you're kind of like, man, we're gonna make it this time. I mean, it's a really good game. But we've even gotten out of published content. Now we're in the free city of Greyhawk, and I'm my character's making a big mess, and it's a blast. But that's what I love about it is you can go Pathfinder 1st edition, 5th edition, whatever you want to do, and the lore is so rich you can use it. Or like Ann and I were talking earlier, you just homebrew, make up your own stuff.
Yeah.
So our channel is again Sundays at 1 we play the Pathfinder game. It's set in Greyhawk. Monday nights we play 5e in Forgotten Realms. Wednesdays we play 5e in Forgotten Realms.
Scott, are those
But
times,
I
is
want to
that
get back
Eastern?
and do some more Greyhawk.
Scott, is that
What's
Eastern
that?
time? When you say what time is it? 1 o'clock? Is that 1 Eastern Central?
Oh yeah, yeah.
1 Eastern.
1 o'clock
Okay.
Eastern, and then 7:30 Monday Eastern, and 7 Wednesday Eastern. So we're kind of, I guess, the variety channel right now. But hanging out with this group and learning all I've learned, and talking about Len and all the creators that have been on here, it just makes me want to do more Greyhawk. And the thing I've probably learned the best, when I'm so glad to be a part of this chat, is that it doesn't have to be first edition. Or
Absolutely.
second or whatever. It can be anything. Yeah.
So
And
so
Carlos
true.
is cranking out awesome content that I want to get and play on our channel.
Thank you.
And I don't even know what edition or what rule set we'll use, but the content's so good, who cares? So
Yeah.
really
Well
excited
said.
about that.
One of the good things about this discussion is how that gap is going to get bridged, and I know there are things that come out in 5e that that looks cool for that Carlos and I may, or Tim may like, or whatever. But I don't think I've ever had a problem converting. Carlos, have you ever had a problem converting anything back to 1e at all?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of what I do. Because everything that I publish is in 600 CY, so I kind of try and keep everything from continuity and just let players and DMs decide, if it's relevant to them or not. So I do have to address these things that have happened throughout editions. So yeah, I've never had a problem converting it.
And there's some you don't want to convert. Once again, I don't want to bash any editions, but when 4th edition came out and they were still publishing, the online dungeons at that time, right? And then you look at it and there's a goblin and the description's like half the page for a goblin. I'm like, what the frick is this? A goblin's a goblin, right? So, but there's things you don't want to have to worry about changing over. But there's so much content out there now. I think that you can do it fairly easily, right? That's racist. This could be a problem having Timur. By the way, I have to say this. Are you ready? There is a disclaimer with the shield. I have to talk. All right. Whoever wrote this shield is not guaranteed to protect you from vampiric Furiandi princes, wingless gargoyles, demon princes at masquerade balls, animated dolls, colossal war machines, or political rebels. So I don't know. Whoever did that, that was genius.
That's awesome.
So,
Promo.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yep,
I got it.
perfect.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh, you guys are unbelievable. I don't know how to thank you enough. Yes, that was awesome.
Take experience points for my character.
You'll take bonus experience points. Oh my god. So who wants to go next on this? Will, how about you on because you told me something, and if you want to tell people, that's fine. A couple weeks ago.
And it's just as well because I do have to get off probably before everybody else.
Okay.
But, so I guess I'll start with the news. Last week on Tuesday, after Greyhawk Adventures on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Not that that's really going to matter. We stopped the stream. Adam didn't cut the hot mics, so some people already know. So in probably like about 2 weeks, Greyhawk Adventures is going on permanent hiatus. So that's going to be coming off of the air. Yeah. Wow. So I think nearly 3 years it's been running now, so it'll be going on hiatus. That doesn't mean that Greyhawk will be going away completely from Wicked Studios. It's going to get rolled over into the cycle on Wednesday nights. So currently we've got a 10-episode stint of Deadlands that's going on, and then after that it's going to be starting up the City Watch campaign, which will be taking place in Lukish in the Grand Duchy, in the Duchy of Ernst. So
cool.
Will, were my raids on Tuesday night not good enough?
Yeah, right. No, there's a lot of different issues that are involved in the reason for it going on hiatus. I don't want to say canceled because I want to leave the door open, right, for possibilities. With that having been said, now that I'm going over, first let me say what I think is good about 5th edition. I think 5th edition is the best edition for new players. If you've got new players who are looking to get into Dungeons and Dragons, there's nothing better than getting a hold of 5th edition and whetting their appetite and getting them into the game. That being said, I'm going away from 5th edition. And the reason I'm going away from 5th edition is because 5th edition is in dire need of an advanced edition. It is too simple on a lot of areas for people who are experienced role players that have been in the game for a while. And it's just little nitpicky things about the game that the way they have with the design of it. I understand somebody new coming into role playing, you maybe want to handle them a little bit more with kid gloves. Hard-boiled role players that have been around for 20 years, you lose a lot when the characters are that put behind the glass and protected. If death isn't on the table as an actual possibility, when you have victory, it is so much cheaper than if it was a possibility of dying permanently. So that's just to say, I think 5e is great system. I also think 5e needs advanced. Now I know EndWorld is working on one, and I've been talking with them and going and like reading over some of their stuff. They have the playtest thing and what have you, and I was real excited to hear about that. No knock on Enwood. Who knows what EndWorld, whatever ends up coming out, might be fantastic. No, it doesn't look like it's going to be actually an advanced edition. So, but I'm going to start using, now that Old School Essentials has come out with their advanced edition. The Kickstarter just finished, so I'm changing over, and I will be doing Old School Essentials Advanced along with my house rules. So I'm taking a lot of the older house rules that were used back during, first edition, second edition period, and implementing them. Like, I will not be using THACO. I haven't used THACO in a long time. I'm sorry. I won't be using it this time either.
I don't blame you.
So just some of the more simpler things. Things like, so there'll be some tweaks and some changes. I'm going to actually write that up, and then I'll post it up on the blog. So like when the game's going, if people want to actually see the actual homebrew rules that I use in conjunction with that, they could just go on there and they can get them. So
are you going to incorporate any other gaming systems, like any Castles and Crusades stuff in?
Actually, I do. One thing that I actually pulled something. It's good you mentioned Castles and Crusades. I pulled their secondary skills list because I like that one the best. And secondary skills, the way that I do it is essentially I pull it in, and it's a career, it's a background, and then basically how I work it is I turn it into ability checks. And if I turn it into, okay, that's what your career was before you became an adventurer, anytime that something pops up that it makes sense that this character maybe knows something about it, aka if you have a sailor's background, knowing how to tie knots, things along these lines, then basically you get to go off that, and then you can roll off of your ability checks and things along those lines. So, but I still, like I said, even though I'm going away from 5th edition, I do like it. I will probably end up, if the EndWorld advanced, they don't even call it advanced, I think they're calling it level up. If that's not to my liking, which I don't think it's going to be, I'm probably going to end up writing an actual advanced edition of 5th, just so that people out there.
3.5.
3.5. Yeah, one of the cool things is the advantage disadvantage. It's such a simple.
I love that. I love that. Yep.
Yeah, and I forget which game it actually originated from, but it's such a simplistic way of doing things, but yet still add some some difficulty and or benefit to the role. So
positive things, not just the total shutdown there, that you're going to be, trying some cool things.
Like I said, the Everyday Tuesday is going to be gone, but and I'm not sure how long the Greyhawk stints will be on Wednesdays, but every time that it is up, it will get posted post it up. So one of the benefits is that it gives me more time to actually work on the blog and actually have printed material, stuff up there for people to take a look at. So
Very cool. Whew. All right, Anna, what do you? How about you? Because you go out there a little bit further than all of us in the
Well, yeah,
ether.
I kind of, 3.5 was the edition that I really fell in love with. That for me, that was the edition when I felt like D&D really came of age. I love the feat system and that all the expanded possibilities that you can kind of silo things and you can have the skill trees and so to speak. So that to me was kind of that and plus the fact that you can multi-class back and forth and stuff like that. That was, you could create advanced weird things and prestige classes, and there was mechanically that opened up the myriad of possibilities that I thought the game needed in my from the way I played. So for me, it was logical when Pathfinder 1 came. That was just a slightly refined version of and the mechanics were tied up a little bit more. So that's when I just jumped on the Pathfinder 1, and then then I also realized now that it's a bit bloated and the things get out of hand when the sweet spot is up to like 10th 12th level, and after that it kind of mechanically falls apart, just like most role-playing games does, so to speak. And that's one of the benefits with 5th edition, is that it's actually coherent all the way up to 20th level. But just like Will said, I felt the same way. I felt like 5th edition is a new version of basic D&D. But I wanted the advanced D&D, so I said that okay, I'm sticking with PF1, and then Pathfinder 2 is coming out, and for me that feels very much like the AD&D version, so to speak, instead of basic D&D. It's more streamlined and so on, but the math really works from 1st to 20th level, and it has all the options of 3.5 and earlier editions. So for me it feels right. But now there's another secret contender coming that I might like even more. I don't know, and that is Core Finder. Legendary Games, who's one of the biggest third-party publishers when it comes to Pathfinder, and also that done a whole bunch of 5e stuff as well. They are doing another streamlined version of Pathfinder that is kind of a competitor to 2e. I don't know, that they're in the works of doing it. They've released a few kind of early products and stuff that looks very promising, but I'm not sure which one I will go with, so to speak. But PF2 fits the bill for me. It has all the options and it's fairly streamlined without losing the options, so to speak.
Carlos. You and this gentleman here are like purists, I know. So
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, my background with D&D, I was a BX guy for like a day and a half, and then I turned into a 1E guy. Once I realized that I wanted the real rules as I saw them as a kid of like 7 years old. I wanted the adult rules. I didn't want the kids as I viewed them to be the kids' rules then. But then I played for a very long time, and I lapsed in the game. I didn't have a group to play with. So what I started to do was I stopped at 2E buying rule sets, and I did that because I felt 2E was a betrayal of the Gygax family, the way it was rolled out. I realize that that's not necessarily factually true, but cognitively you realize that, and emotionally you think another thing. And the whole way things went down, I was not at all happy with it. So I skipped 2E for the most part. But then I got in the book industry. I had my own bookstore, and I started seeing all this Greyhawk stuff that was over there, and I was like, yeah, I'll take this, and yeah, I'll take that, and yeah, I'll take that. And so I was collecting all this stuff, but really not reading a ton of it. Then I remember getting a shipment of old Gord the Rogue books from secondhand. And I was like, you know what, I've got to read these and see what's going on, which got me going into reading all the stuff. That started my career as kind of a rules, not really a player or a DM, but kind of doing this in a theoretical sense. building characters in kind of a vacuum and seeing how the rule sets work, because I didn't have a game really. So I was doing 3E kind of in a vacuum, 2E in a vacuum. The 3E stuff I thought was really fascinating until I went and I saw somebody play it. When I actually saw somebody play it and I saw them take a combat that lasted about 2.5 hours that I knew in 1E I could do in about 15 minutes, I was like, this game is off the table for me. There's no way. I don't need, I can't have that kind of a rule weight in my game. Which was a big deal for me because at that point in time I was planning to write Fireland, and I started as I was writing it from the context of, okay, I'm going to write this in 3E because of the OGL. That way I felt like, you know what, I can just release it as a free product, whatever. No, but this is long before Castle Entertainment came out. Then I realized, you know what, 3E is not going to do this for me at all. I need to go back and do 1E. I need to go back to my roots. I need to do what I'm comfortable with. And so even though I know the 1E and 2E systems pretty much like the back of my hand, I've never really actually played them per se. That's why I get the label that I get as a purist, and because I do really only run 1E games. I run a lot of concepts that are based in stuff like 2E. For example, I absolutely adore especially priests. I love the notion of specialty mages. I play spellcasters primarily, so I love incorporating little things like that into my home game that make sense. That dovetail well with the 1E rules. There's things that don't dovetail well. For example, when you guys say you don't want to use THAC0 and stuff like that, even though THAC0, people think of it as a 2E concept, it's not. It's really a 1E concept.
Yeah,
you can read it right there on page 73 of the Dungeon Master's Guide if you want to.
Oh, it was the original. Yeah, it was always THAC0.
But anyway, it's like hearing Power Word Stun to me. I mean, it's like, I can't. I don't even know how to cope with that. So, yeah, for me, I'm a 1E guy. If you ever catch any of my streams, everything I write is for 1E, but there's a reason for that. If you read any of my modules, the reason why I write for 1E is because I can write for Osric, which is open source, and I can still respect IP, and I can publish, and I don't get anybody mad at me, namely lawyers. And well, really, to be honest with you, it's really important for me to respect IP. And the reason I say that is because I have a bunch of characters that I love that I've created personally. I always sit back and I think to myself, how would I feel if somebody was out there making money off of them and doing things with them that I didn't approve of? I wouldn't be happy. So I try and respect that IP as much as possible and put as much delineation between this is TSR and this is me. And I'll give you an example of that. There was a thread on Facebook recently where a bunch of people were taking me to task about the product codes I use. They're like, that game is not G1, pal. They're all telling me. I'm thinking to myself, I'm laughing at myself reading this Facebook thing. I'm thinking to myself, that's because I'm not TSR, pal. I mean, it's kind of
pal.
Funny to me. But
Glad to see him.
more than anything, I'm a 1E guy. It's what I'm comfortable with. I feel like when I play it, it's like an old friend. It's always there. I know the rules inside out. I don't have to. I can weigh down the game as much or as little as I want to with rules. Yeah, there's rules that are cumbersome and terrible in 1E. Pummeling, overbearing, grappling. I mean, good Lord, that's got to be the worst system made in the history of gaming. Okay, fatal notwithstanding. But
Yeah.
that is just a. But there's so much about it that I love. And I can always go back to it as a basis. And people always will come to me at games and conventions, and they want to play in my games and stuff like that. And they say, hey, man, I really want to play in your game. I've heard a lot of good stuff about you, but I'm a 3.5 guy, or I'm a 5e guy, or whatever. Is that going to be a big deal? And I can always confidently smile at them and say, it is no problem at all.
I agree with you 100%, Carlos, because all these Living Greyhawk gentlemen and ladies that are playing in my games on my Saturday Night Specials now, all the triads, were playing my style, and they're not having any issues with it, and they're all 3.5ers.
Yeah.
You know, and I got the ultimate min-maxer playing Casey. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had to throw that
and there's
in
stuff
there.
that you can do. People. That's another thing about 1E. Okay, everybody looks at 1E and they think to themselves, if you're a power gamer type, okay, and let me put this out there too, since we're having this conversation, because it's something I've kind of wanted to tell the community for a long time. We talk a lot about editions, and if anybody's ever watched me on my shows or anything like that, my take on this. There is no such thing as a bad edition.
Agree.
Okay, all the rule sets do something different. They're all clubs in your golf bag or tools in your toolbox. Whatever one of them conveys the experience that you want to run best is the perfect rule set. That is, the answer can be different no matter what you want. If you want a really stripped down version, BX is your guy. If you want more of a war game, minis kind of thing, 4E is just for you. If you want new players, just like Wiley said, 5E is your guy. If you want something that's got all kinds of modular rules that you can plug and play with, 2E is your guy. Okay, 1E is the experience I want. But on top of that, people that have different play styles, okay, just because you have a different play style does not mean that you should entertain or not entertain a certain rule set. If you're a power gamer, I could build you a second or third level character that will crush a 10th level character in 1E anytime you want to. Okay, well that's not even a challenge. Okay, power gaming exists at every level. If that's your jam, if that's what you like to do, we can do that in 1E. If you like to do that in 2E, you can do that in 2E. Just convergence with the rule set allows you to do that kind of stuff. If you like something grittier, more hardcore, we can do that in 1E too. So just we're talking right now about editions and what suits everybody and what they like best and everything like that. 1E is my jam, but it's not because it's the best rule set. It's what conveys the experience best for me.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And got to do it. Carlos gets busted about G1. Sooner or later,
Pal.
JS1 will be out.
Yes, and since you're talking about that, I can give everybody a quick update on that. It has nothing to do with rule set, but I'm going to throw that out there very well. Actually, it does have something to do with rule set. We can tie it back into this. I busted the news out on my site the other day, or on my stream. The next module that's going to be released in December is the one that reflects the campaign that we do on stream, which is called On the Way from Quirks Cove. Everybody should really get a chance to enjoy that. If you guys are patrons, you'll get to see that in December. But after that, the next module is coming out is Jay and I's module. I've already commissioned the art for the cover. So this is happening. It will be out in February for patrons.
Do we have that title yet?
Yeah, it's called Horror in the Hools, spelled Huuls.
There you go.
That was my
There you
idea.
go.
we decided that
Horror in
Jay
the
and I
Hools.
did, because we have this long
Huuls.
discourse now on Facebook that there's some brand recognition right now behind Horror in the Hools that we wanted to be able to take advantage of. And the way that this ties into rule set is this is going to be the first Castle Entertainment project that has a supplementary rule set in there, because it's got Jay's home rules listed in the back of it. So if you guys ever wanted to check that kind of thing out, man.
Like Showcanth has that separate book.
Yep.
You know,
It's
so.
the 1.2.3.
We haven't we don't know yet.
edition.
We're going to decide that tonight, hopefully.
This is going to be a lot of fun to write, and by that I mean I think I'm probably going to shoot myself in the face probably about 3 or 4 times as I go through that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
So is this just a JS, or is this a JS1?
It is JS1. It is JS1.
4 and 5.
There
So
could
the
very
start of a
well be
long series.
We shall
right?
see. I mean,
depending on when Jay and I did Horror of the Hools, I was publishing, but I wasn't publishing at the rate that I am right now. My time to do stuff is really limited right now, as in breathe or eat or sleep. So writing other projects is really tough for me. However, I was really inspired the other day when people were saying how much they wanted to work with me, like John and Anna mentioned that.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to think of ways to do that. So I'm gonna have to make time, is what it boils down to.
That was 10 hours of blasting
I'd love to
time
work
fun.
with you too, brother.
Yeah.
What a fun 10 hours that was at Gen Con in 2019.
Yeah.
Oh
That was
man,
such
I
an
just remember
awesome-
Jay.
awesome-
You mentioned it time and again, and I want to remember it too. Mention it too. I just remember the way that the players responded during the break.
Yeah.
And I also remember we took a big group picture at the end of it, and just the smiles on everybody's faces. Everybody was so excited, and the guys were just really you could tell that they had a really good experience. And I think for any of you that DM, regardless of the edition that you play, I mean, that's what you get out of the game. I mean, you're like a performer in the sense like a musician or an actor or something, that the crowd feedback is everything to you. And when you get that, you see the smile on your face, you know you hit it on the screws as a DM or a creator, and you look at their faces and you kind of see that little glow. It's that's everything. And that's universal, whether I'm talking about Wiley or Will or John or Ann or Jay. It's universal.
100%.
I talked to him maxing. He's like, I can't let that slip. Yeah. So John.
Hi, Casey.
John
Hey,
is
Casey.
John is the ultimate hybrid, even more than me, I think. Which is really interesting. John, why don't you talk about what you've done?
Yeah, I don't know why you're commenting on my genetics, Jay. That's a bit rude.
A little personal there.
Yeah. So look, first of all, Jay wanted me to make my wisdom check, to sit here silently while 5 people talked about additions and not, so hard. This is such a great topic and so many great things were said. I have a few things I want to say. First of all, I want to thank everybody that was on the stream until Casey joined. Casey, I've had a full live interaction with you.
You're still pretty spot on right there, Jay. That's okay.
But obviously, everybody knows what Jay has meant to me and the stream, and man, just an absolute renaissance for all the old school gaming stuff. He's been incredible. But everybody else on the stream, again, before Casey, has been a help to me. Whether it was Carlos, your Lost Dog episode, it was a huge hit for Virtual Greyhawk Con. Everybody that played in that was blown away and had such a good time. Anna's map, I know many of you have seen it already. I'm going to flip the cam around here. Hopefully I don't lose my cam, but it's sitting on my wall in all of its 42-inch glory there. And she's made custom maps for the Blue Box channel for our Greyhawk edition, and such a huge purveyor of all the good things yes, that's it right there. Lost Dog, support Castle Entertainment. Great stuff. Wiley, you I know known for over a little while. You rated me today. Thank you so much. I never get rated on Sunday afternoons. It's such a horrible time spot. And it was great to get one today. And then Will and I, we've talked so many times, and he's got a great channel. So I appreciate the community. Just a little bit of a love fest there. Now, to the topic at hand. Really, if you're playing anything other than these, you're wasting your time. This is D&D. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, Blue Box, that does come. Most of you know that's the moniker from the Expert Edition set. This is how I learned to play, a long time ago. And as Jay said, I am a hybrid. Now, I'm going to say this. To me, there's really 2 things that you look at with Edition. There's mechanics and there's philosophy. And I think when you look at mechanics, they're virtually irrelevant. They've been said so many times here. I could drop into anything other than 4E, and that's not a slight at 4E. It's just I never really explored it that much. That was a gap in time where I wasn't heavy into gaming. I took a few years off. The little bit that I saw of it, it felt very much like a tabletop mechanical game versus a role-playing game, which is ironic if you look back at Chainmail and how the game got started. But for me, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I've done 1E, 2E, 3E, 3.5, Pathfinder 1E, which to me is the same as 3.5 with some adjustments to it. And then I've played some 5E. And I could jump into any one of those games. So when I did the Virtual Greyhawk Con, I ran Lost Dog as a 2E, 1E campaign. So we were THACO, we were, reflex, or we were dex checks, not reflex saves. We were running all the old system stuff. My preferred system is still 3.5, or the open gaming license. Now, I do run it mostly as the Pathfinder version because I think there were some further enhancements and options. But as Anna said, you can get way, way off the rails with that. So to me, this goes back to the idea of the DM runs the game and runs the table. So there are a myriad of specialty classes and feats. my players have to run all of that stuff past me first. So not everything that's published out there for PF or for 3.5 is allowable in my campaigns. I'm very restrictive about what I allow. So I've got my first Azamar ever is playing in my Sunday campaign. And then if you've watched Greyhawk Awakening, I've got a half ogre. I would never have believed I would let a half ogre in one of my campaigns. I am so restrictive on that sort of stuff. I'm a purist. I like the original canon and the original styles, classes, races. Paladins are lawful evil, or you're an anti-paladin if you're or probably lawful good rather, or if you're an anti-paladin, you're lawful evil. Druids are true neutral. I think these things mean something in terms of if everything goes, then nothing really works. And so you need these structures in your gaming systems to create meaning and purpose behind what's achieved. So I sometimes, I better be careful here because I'm going to get off the rails onto a topic that's probably going to get me in trouble. But I just think there's a lot of stuff that's in 5e and some of the newer systems, which it's just not my style. I'll put it that way. Now I'm going to disagree with Will and with Carlos. They both said that 5e is for new players. I disagree. 5e is for new DMs. If you're an
that's, you know what? Yeah, I would rephrase my comment.
That's
I'm going
a
to,
good point.
That is an extremely good point.
That's a good point.
I want to go on record as saying I referenced Will. I did not.
Is there a light bulb above my head?
If I were to jump off a bridge, Carlos.
I would follow you. I would follow you.
That's a good point.
I think we would all follow him. No, so I just like it is very easy to get into, but I think if you're an experienced DM, I believe all the DMs on this channel right now, you could take a player into almost any edition and I make them comfortable. If you look at all the people that are playing in my campaigns, none of them were 1E, 2E. None of them played 3.5. They had not either played at all or they were mostly 5e players. And they jump in and within one session, they get it. We have a new player. He plays Alcott on my Sunday stream, the one I run today, which is basically a Pathfinder 1E system. And he's only played 5e. He's got a 5e podcast, and he's like Gimbal, Rory, who plays on our Tuesday campaign, only played 5e. They get 1 or 2 sessions into the 3.5 system, and I'll talk about the hybrid that Jay mentioned in a second, and they love it. And it's not hard for them at all. Now, when you go back before 3, 5, and 3, and you get into things like THAC0, which to me is nostalgic. That's how I started, right? So I like THAC0, but it's just less intuitive to me. Even things like dex checks or con checks, I still use those sometimes, but I think a reflex save or a fortitude save with certain modifiers, they make more sense. Well, guess what? If you played 5e, it's way easier for you to jump back to 3.5. Because that's 3 and 3.5 is where you switch from THAC0 to the inverse process of upward ascending armor classes, fortitude saves and checks, the feat systems that Anna mentioned. So I use a basic 3.5 system.
You said I use.
Yep.
Well played,
Zing.
sir.
I wasn't going to say anything.
That-
but thank
that
you.
He had to do that with Casey here.
I use a basic 3.5 system, but then I use lots of 1E elements. So I had used group initiative for a long time, and I dropped it about 4 years ago. And then I watched Jay playing his system, and he was still using group initiative, D6. I'm like, gosh, that's so much more elegant. And Carlos, as you said, you don't want 2 hours of combat for something that should be happening in 15 minutes. A lot of that breaks down to individual initiative systems. And I get the idea behind them, but to me, I just think they bog the game down too much. So I never let rule sets prevent me from running a game which creates fun for the players and maintains a continuity and a pace of gameplay. So I got basic 3.5, 1E initiative systems, certain other 1E elements, certain spells operate by 1E. I'm using custom crit tables, which, you know, everybody today has failed to mention the best game system of all.
Oops.
You
GURPS.
got it. Iron Crown.
Top secret SI. How
Middle
about
Earth
that?
role-playing, MERPs. If you're a true statistician nerd, lore master, that stuff was heavy. But there was some great content there. So I used those crit tables for a long time until Tim's Ever Mysterious Crit Tables came along. And so we're creating a logo for those, and those will be available for purchase.
Where's my wallet? Those are awesome. If you haven't seen those are amazing.
They are so cool. All right, so quickly
what's the Tim Death count up to two for PCs? It's
three. Well, so 3 PCs and 2 NPCs so far, and also several monsters. Right, it works both ways. So just a quick few final points. I said philosophy versus mechanics. I think the mechanics are workable. My main problem with 5e is philosophy-wise. I think it has nerfed the game. Yes. And that was a lot of what I heard being said earlier. I would love to see a 5e expert or advanced edition.
100%.
But there's so much about it that to me feels like a computer role-playing game. Save next, quick rest. Oh, walk away from it. Yeah, it didn't matter what kind of crit you took, what just happened to you. And again, a DM can fix that, right? So if you want to DM 5e, you could introduce horrible crit tables and effects. So nothing's limited, but just the way the system is baked, it feels more nerfed to me than I want to play. With that said, and I've mentioned this on some other streams, the content is gorgeous. The illustrations are gorgeous. D&D Beyond, it is incredible. I wish I could have D&D Beyond for every edition. It is, if there's one thing that to me makes it really nice for new players, it's that. Now, with that said, if you're playing 3.5 or Pathfinder, there's a great app for your phones that you can use for your PCs. Does anyone know what that is?
Oh, Pathfinder. I forgot to. There's several, but there's one that I haven't used yet, but I've heard about that. Is for free.
There's one hands down. It's got a 3.5 and a Pathfinder version.
I've heard about the one for Pathfinder 2E.
RPG Scribe. RPG Scribe. And yes, I have no money in them. This is not an advertisement, but I've used it for years. All of my players use it. So RPG Scribe. It's available for both Android and iOS, and it's not quite as slick as snot as D&D Beyond, but it's pretty cool. And it automatically calculates all your bonuses and your feats, and it helps you with your level ups and your prereqs and all of that. So you don't get D&D Beyond with it, but you get something that's pretty close. So that's philosophy, mechanics, saves, new players, DMs, Ice Merp. And then, yes, lastly, someone talked about crowd feedback. And Carlos, you were talking about the glow. You just, as a DM, you know.
That was me.
That's what I said. I said Carlos, didn't I? I thought, yeah, okay. I said, like,
I just wanted to make sure there's a differentiation between me and him.
If I could bottle it up and just like dole it out every session, I would. I don't know what makes it happen sometimes, but there is that magic that happens when you're DMing. You just feel the electricity in the room. And this is not edition specific, but it is what makes me love being on Twitch. I thought when I started streaming on Twitch, it was going to be a distraction to the game. And what I found is it's the opposite. The fans, the chat, the viewers, they they add that magic to the game. And so my DMing now, I still DM off stream, but when I'm DMing on stream, what the players, the chatters bring rather, and the viewers, it is just incredible. All right, so I could keep going, Jay. I'll stop there.
I want to add something that I think John took up that was got me to think something that there was said that 5e is for DMs more than for players, and that was interesting because for me, when I'm a player, I don't care what edition we're using or what rules. The only thing is that if the DM loves his rule or her rule system and can present it and play with it well with the players, I mean, no matter what, it doesn't matter house ruling or whatever, because if the DM can run the campaign effectively and fun with whatever rule system they're having, that's the right rule system for me as a player. I'm as far away from a min-maxer you can come as a player. I just want to have a character that can have fun and interact with the party and the other players and the DM, and I'm not out for having a powerful character or mechanics or any of that stuff. But when I'm DMing, that's when I want to have the rule system that works for me. Then all of a sudden the rule system becomes important because I want to be able to kind of make sense for the game set session for me and to present it well and to make it work, so to speak. So
Donna.
that's the weird thing, because I'm very different from DMing, and also I'm not a very assured DM, so to speak. A lot of other DMs, meaning I know this, I can do it, whatever. That's not me. I want the rule system to be there to help me and guide me and to the scaffolding. I love to present the world. That's everything for me. But the game's mechanics, that it should be there. And one other comment. Now, when we move, before I've adapted new versions of D&D and then Pathfinder without blinking too much. I read through it and then it works better for me. So I started using it. But now when I'm starting to use digital tools and I want to have all the information at my fingertips, whatever game system I'm changing to now will probably be the last one. I don't think I will ever want to change again. So that's the other weird thing, but because now I don't want to read books anymore. I want to have it easily at my fingertips.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. When you're done, Anna, I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Because I'm going to shut up after this, but I couldn't agree more. And that was kind of where I got with 3.5. You have open gaming license, you have all the free materials. I felt like the rule system was pretty well tweaked, and I get it. If you're, WotC or your whoever, you want to come up with new systems so you can keep selling books, and I'm not disparaging that. But ultimately, I felt like that rule system was good enough, and I didn't need to keep spending money on new rule systems. And then I do need to answer the chat. I know some people were commenting on the fact that I said I didn't allow half ogres until Greyhawk Awakening. I know they were in Dragon Magazine, although as Jay pointed out, they were never official. It doesn't matter to me. There were also spaceships in the Barrier Peaks. There were dinosaurs. There's a lot of stuff that I don't allow in my campaigns because that's as a DM, I don't want that. And that's the beauty of the game. You DM it how you want to.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in on that too.
Hold on.
One second.
I gotta take
1 second for everyone. Tim's going to leave. Tim's going to depart. So.
Okay.
Because he's hot and he's got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Serious leaving.
So I'm going
Well
to.
done, Tim.
So continue this. I'm going to see him out. Continue the discussion. I'll be right back. Okay. Please keep the discussion going.
I too am taking off, everybody. Thanks.
See you, Will.
Will, thank you, Will.
Guys.
I know you got a game, so
I'm pouring one out for your Tuesday stream.
let me see.
Yeah, pour a little bit out.
All right.
Yep.
Keep the talk going. I'll be right back.
All right, we got
Okay.
it. We got it.
So yeah, bye, Will. So okay, Scott, back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted a second. I mean, Anna, you really described my DM style and my belief in the rules. I just started this Greyhawk Tales on our channel, and when the DM said, "Hey, we're going to be playing Pathfinder," I was like, I've never played it. I mean, I don't think I can play. Blah blah blah. And I'd never been in that experience where I'm comfortable in one rule set and I'm trying to play another one. And it's exactly what happened for me. Was 2 sessions in, I forgot I was in a different rule system.
Right.
Now we're using Roll20 for the character sheet, so there's some of that mechanical lubrication that's happening. I don't have to get super crunchy to play, but that's I'm a world guy and a narrative guy, and I want to see my PCs. I want them crying, I want them laughing, I want them angsty. And so as long as, and Alderon in chat, Alderon 2UC2 had said something about as long as it isn't so mechanically crunchy that we lose the story. I think that's for me that's the ideal rule system, and I think any of the rule systems can be that way because as a DM, you get comfortable, like Anna said, but you modify it, like what John's done. And I love that he's using group initiative. I wrote that down. I thought, man, because you get so mired in 25 to 20, 20 to 50, and you're charting everybody's. It's like I hope I never hear the word segments at my table again because it got so crunchy and hard to move through things. I just couldn't, hack it. So
the segments are a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that came from Wargamers.
I struggled with them.
That's why they did it.
Well, I'm going to say
you had to.
If I want to play, I'm sorry, go ahead. If I want to play Axis and Allies,
don't use the segment system. You're losing out big time as far as spellcasters go.
Right.
Casting times is critical.
Right. So
anyway, never mind.
I can see that. Yeah.
If I want to play
that's a good point.
And Allies, I can, and that's a super lengthy, very mechanically oriented game. But when you're using group initiative, it gives you not just speeding up the game. It creates so much importance on this D6. And I think just the joy at the table, DM has a 4. Oh, we got a 5. The whole party celebrates. And then as a DM, you adjudicate the order based on what they're doing. So to Carlos' point, if it's a spellcaster, they're still going last on the party range versus the melee combatant who is standing right next to the foe and maybe rolled the die and won. So you can still move them around in order, but that group initiative not only speeds things up, but it adds a flavor of fun to the game.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you for a second.
I'm only
John.
mad because I argued with you about
Okay,
flavor.
so the DM rolled that 5, okay, and the players go, "Oh, I rolled a 4. We're going next." And your thief character's sitting there in the background going, "Yeah, my dexterity bonus should have taken me over top of that, and I should have gone first, and I could have gotten in before anybody else did and had my crowning moment."
Yeah, but so
Go ahead.
then I'm going to add, because I run what I would call a hybrid between individual and group. So what I normally do is that if the group are waiting for the orcs to bash through a door, so to speak, then I roll that. Then it's normally there is a character that is the most vital in every round, so to speak, to kind of gain the action. If the orcs are going to break through the door, it's a damn fighter that's standing first in line to do it, or they say that it's the wizard that is going to have a spell prepared and going to blast the door and open. Then it becomes the whatever, meaning the character who is the most interesting at the moment, so to speak, that is the one to guide the action at the beginning, so to speak. And sometimes you might have the group of players, they roll once, and then they have the rogue skulking around out in the forest a bit to kind of do some scouting on the side. Then I roll individual initiative for that character, and the rest of the group roll 1 initiative. So I try to be flexible with it, and that way, if you roll what is mainly a group initiative, if the group is together doing the same thing, then just roll 1 initiative, and there will be kind of the character that can do whatever the group is doing well, so to speak. And if one is picking a lock and there's supposed to be an ambush, then it's simply whoever is the most perceptive character is the one keeping an eye on things, and that they will roll to see if they can see it, so to speak. And the other thing is that then when you do it that way, you can roll new initiative every round, because there might only be 2 rolls, and that way things can shift back and forth.
That's exactly
which
right,
is
yeah.
kind of interesting, so to speak. So I tried to, that was something I learned when I played 3.5 and then Pathfinder. So I have a hybrid between individual and if it's really important, like you playing at a they do a tournament or something like that, then it's really important. Then it's individual initiative, and you might have a fight with the boss or the main dragon. Then I can do individual initiatives. They're all around it doing different things. So it's very much up to the situation. So sometimes it's all like they're being ambushed and roll for the whole group and then see and stuff like that. So I try to be flexible with it and to make it needs to flow as fast as, if it's not an important round, nothing important, then just go quickly, so to speak. And in an ambush, if the players don't seem to be that interesting, then the orcs get automatic. They just do it, and I don't even roll initiative. I just get in there, so to speak.
Right.
If they are inside a dungeon doing something, or in a forest, and they yelling, making jokes, silly jokes, whatever, the group, I just ambush them straight out of nothing. No initiative
surprise.
whatsoever. The first arrow just comes, and I see if it's a hit or not. So you can be flexible with initiative, just to kind of, so my take on it is, don't bog yourself down in mechanics unnecessarily, so to speak. Meaning initiative is there in order to guide things to make it more fun. But if initiative, meaning you have a dinner and they all are sitting down, it's a diplomacy and thing, and someone's supposed to stab someone in the back, then I just one character roll perception if they can see it, or diplomacy, or some or
exactly.
sense motive or something, and they can see the knife coming, and then and if he just sits there for like 5 seconds, then the damn thing will go. So sometimes the player reaction can be as vital as a die roll, so to speak. So
Jay, just to help you, Casey hasn't really gotten to talk at all yet.
yeah,
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I talk plenty on
no, Casey,
If
please.
you want to
Yeah.
tell Carlos, though, Carlos, if you were right, I would agree with you. But I'll get to that in a second. But
I can jump in on, say, like 3.5 Pathfinder and 5e, because obviously Living Greyhawk was 3.0, then
Yeah.
3.5. and it's a very crunchy rule system, and you can make it gritty and easy to kill or easy to die. Saving throws matter. There's save or die spells and 3.x. Fifth edition is very much about the super heroic PCs, which in my opinion are very hard to kill after first or second level when you're not throwing ridiculous monsters and encounters at them because of the way the short rest, the long rest, regaining all your hit points works. But it's also super easy, as you guys have mentioned, to house rule any edition. And like in 5e, I have the slow natural healing DMG variant. It's there. It's in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So my PCs in my Ghost of Saltmarsh game, they don't get back all of their hit points automatically at the end of a long rest. They have to spin the hit dice, and they can use healing kits for bonuses and things like that. But one of my pet peeves is also coming back from the dead with no ill effect. So in my campaigns, when you die and get a raised dead, you come back with your con score permanently lowered by 1.
Yes, sir.
And 1 of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma permanently lowered by 1. To
Ew.
represent you have left a part of your soul behind in the afterlife, right? Think about Lady Stonehands in Game of Thrones books.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's just really messed up from coming back from the dead, let alone so is Theros or whatever the priest's name is. Who you guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I read those books. And 3.x, super crunchy. 5e, I agree, it's good for new DMs. I think the basic sets, Beck Me, if they would release a Beck Me nowadays with modern tweaks and modern action economy, it'd be pretty similar to what we'd see in 5e in many respects, and it would be pretty easy to run. But yeah, I definitely would not recommend that newbies pick up Pathfinder 1e, and just dive right into it necessarily, because it is very crunch heavy. But you know what? People did it for 10
Yeah.
years. So.
It was Beric Dondarrion was who you're looking for.
Oh, thank you.
It-
Thank you. I'm
yeah.
a bad nerd. I couldn't remember the name.
So the initiative thing is very interesting, and I know that was a huge topic of discussion when I stepped out.
Yeah.
I can't do an individual initiative in my game. I just can't. It just does not work with my guys. Don't play one character. My guys play 2 characters each, right? It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just for me, and miniatures rules, I think lends, and I talked to John about this, and I think you'll agree. It lends to its positioning, its positioning where you go, not in group initiative. Furthest, either closest to the combat or to furthest away, or reverse, depending on the situation. It just seems
Yeah.
to work better for,
Yeah.
and been playing for so long. But that's okay, because everyone else can do it a little differently, a little different way. But I look
Curious.
Jay, if I could.
Yeah,
Sorry, go
sure.
ahead.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was teasing Carlos, but I want to respond because he had a really good point. It's the main argument against group initiative is, what about players that have dedicated either certain feats, particularly for 3.5, they're initiative-based feats, or just a high dexterity, for speed. And so there are ways you can tweak that. Anything that you do is going to have offset to it, right? So there's no perfect initiative system. I think I've baked and tried probably 5 to 7 different initiative systems, but you can tweak even a group initiative. So in 5e, or probably in 3.5, there's a feat, I believe it's Swashbuckler's Grace. I might have that mixed up, but there's one which gives them a bonus to initiative. So if I have the player rolling for group initiative that has that feat, or if they're a thief with a really high dexterity, then I'm going to give them +1 on that D6. So there's still an influence to their speed or their feats on the group initiative system. Again, it's not perfect, but it's a way you can still pay some homage to the customizations of the character.
Plus,
There's no problem with running it either way. I mean, I believe there was somebody out there in chat. I can't even remember who it was just now that had mentioned that the rule set doesn't even allow dexterity based adjustment to
That's right.
and that's specifically true. Specifically speaking, they're right. It's something I've house ruled for so long. It's one of those things I just kind of forgot that, hey, that's not yours.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
like
but
it. I like it.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with doing however you guys want to do it. I mean,
yeah.
I stay consistent with my message that the game is rule set is all about what works for you. So, you
And
know,
one little point with the initiative is that when you start using digital tools like fantasy grounds and
It's easier.
stuff, then initiative kind of comes automatically. You can roll initiative in 1 second for every round for however many. You just do it. So that simplifies the initiative. You can kind of get rid of the mechanics on the initiative. You can have a lot of mechanics and it can be done almost instantly. So that is one of the huge bonuses of using digital tools, the way the tools were intended to be.
Imagine me doing initiative on a Saturday night with all the GOF people, and there's 7 characters, then
Yeah.
all the bad guys, and I got oh no, I forgot this modifier. Oh, it's 18, not 16, or whatever. It just would
Yep.
be it would
Yeah,
it would
I
be
mean, really,
insane.
the digital is the benefit there, like Anna says.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
perfect world, like if I had a hollow deck, I would re-roll initiative every round.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the perfect combat simulation improvement to the game across all editions, in my opinion. But I'm not even going to do that in roll 20 because it's already clunky enough. Like, you know, stop, everyone re-roll. So, you know, we have to live with some suspension of disbelief that time happens in a certain way.
That's right. That's right. And with group initiative, you can roll every round. It's so elegant. But yes, you're right. Everything requires a sacrifice at some level.
All right.
And
okay. And
also, I was just going to say, also, I think it's more important that the combat appear to be logical, interesting, and engaging rather than it follows a mechanic down to the T. And initiative is, I think, is perfect for that. Meaning, if you have a situation where someone is guarding the door, he's going to be first, so to speak. So I try to be natural that way. When something is obvious that is going to happen, then it will probably happen first. And unless there is like some the side that has prepared and planned and already usually goes first, then I just assume that's going to happen. But if there are 2 sides doing it, like and they're both ready, like a tournament or the duel or something like that, that's when you have really face off with decks and stuff. But otherwise, it's kind of natural which side's supposed to go first, and I just go with it.
What Anna's describing is that in 3rd edition, a surprise round is a readied action, which is why in 3rd edition, you only get to take either a move or a standard during the surprise round. So I'm the assassin. I'm in the tent. I am readying an action to stab the king when no one is within 10 feet of him, right? So I then do my attack. Everyone else gets to make their either standard action or move action reaction if they make their perception check or whatever. People didn't quite get that 10 or 15 years ago, but to me, that's a very helpful way of looking at why did this guy get to do that thing before I got to react? He had a readied action to do this thing. It got triggered. Now you get to react.
I think the moniker of surprise round is where you get in trouble because people picture in their mind an entire round of I get to do whatever, bonus action, movement in 5e. And it's really like I was listening to Jeremy Crawford on a podcast or something. There is no surprise round. It's again, if that actor was prepared to do a thing, then they get to make an attempt at their thing, and then you go into initiative.
Yep.
I think that's a good explanation, Casey.
Thanks.
But I think, Casey, you tied kind of told into to another interesting thing is that is meaning how you actually conduct the game, meaning you have theater of mind, you have miniatures, you draw things on and so on. How do you visualize your game? That's one of the other interesting that comes with the rules, meaning the earliest editions didn't have much. It's kind of interesting. The really early, you're supposed to have miniatures almost because it came from a miniature wargaming background, and then that kind of disappeared, and 2nd edition and that barely had any accommodations for miniature gaming, meaning Jay had to kind of take some of the, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but then he kind of lost a lot of it, and now it's coming back again thanks to more kind of virtual tabletops and stuff like that and also some people have stayed with miniatures. But that's an interesting take, how much the rule system affects how you actually visualize your game.
Well, I'll say this is that one of the reasons I consider myself a lot more 1E than 2E and 3E is when I see something that I've liked in those editions, I didn't take them as was. I took them and converted it to what I would do if it was 1E all along. Does that make any sense?
Oh,
Like,
Yeah.
like for example, I'll give specialty priests. They don't specialty priests in 2E. You play whatever you want, and then you gotta look here, I look here. It's this sphere, that sphere, whatever. I took it and I made it. Here's its abilities. Here's its spell list, and you're not getting all And here it's done, and that's what you would do if it was a 1E class. Same thing with a wild mage. Same thing with an elementalist. Same thing now with. I go to this book. I go to all these books, and they have all these great feats in them. I don't have feats. I took this feat. I love the idea, but I'm going to take the weapon proficiency system in 1E and I'm going to merge the feats into the 1E 2E weapon proficiency system. So it's just like there's all these great ideas, but you build on what you're doing. I think everyone said they have a comfort zone for whatever edition they are, and then they're pulling stuff from other ones. Like John's pulling advantage, right, from 5E, group initiative from 1E. Carlos maybe pulling one or two things we're not aware of from other editions that he's being secretive on, right?
Maybe.
So there's probably something special. And then, Scott, I imagine you're doing. I don't know how you do that. Is how you do so many different rule systems, man, all in the same week. That's right. You're playing.
I don't know what's happening there. I'd try not to think about it, or I'd probably get in big trouble.
You play Pathfinder, 5E, and Zweihander, right?
Yeah, we did a short run of Zweihander. We haven't played it since, but I think that would be an interesting system to do a dark urban Greyhawk setting. Man, that would be cool.
Well, Scott, this is probably not the topic we're supposed to be on tonight, but I'm actually really curious about Zweihander. I've seen a lot of stuff on it, and without getting anybody into any trouble or promoting anything, what were your thoughts on that system?
Built a character
really enjoyed
for
it.
for a game that I was involved in, and it was a good experience.
Yep.
Hey, Shane.
It's the character building process is really streamlined, but you can still get super unique like you can in Pathfinder 1E, 2E, and 3.5. And it's just it's meant to be gritty and dangerous and edgy and dark. So the philosophy, 5E is kind of like we kind of joke a little bit in the Pathfinder game. 5E feels really bubble wrapped and, like you said, kind of nerf the game. And if you want to play a game where death is certainly a thing that can happen if you're really not smart about your character, 5E is a little harder for that to occur. But Zweihander, 3.5, Pathfinder, absolutely. And I don't know, Zweihander has now come out with a American Revolution time period setting.
Wow.
And that's rolling out. So I'm really stoked for that. I mean, complete departure. Now we're talking settings, but just as an offhand, I just, to answer your question, Jay, man, I just get up in the morning and whatever game we're playing, I just try to go have fun. But I've gotten really comfortable at 5E, so I GM that, like Anna said. But I play Pathfinder, which I don't know that I would do very well GMing Pathfinder because I don't have enough experience with it.
I just did the BK tournament, which was Pathfinder conversion, but I've been DMing 5E now for a couple of years, and I got to say, my brain did have a little bit trouble making the transition back because I did want to roll advantage, and things like that. But I want to ask you real quick: are you using the whenever someone hits 0 hit points, you give them a level of exhaustion in 5E? Because I highly recommend that, to put the fear of God back into the characters, because they drop, they get healed, they pop up. And this is, in Jay's game, they need that spell
Death's
from
Door.
Unearthed Arcana, right? Death's Door. It's a 3rd level friggin' spell, or they're down for the rest of the fight. Okay, that can be very boring. No one wants to be 30 minutes into a session and their character can't do anything for 3.5 hours because no one has a spell prepared. But in 5E, you get dropped, you pop up when you get healed. You drop, you pop up. So I've adopted the whole, you get 1 level of exhaustion, and I think 6 levels kills you. So people have actually started retreating from my fights, which is what you should do when a monster kicks your ass. You should get out of there.
That's one of the things that I've made several notes here tonight. The slow natural healing. I'm going to go look that up, because the problem as a DM is one of my biggest challenges is encounter balancing.
Yeah.
is how do I make an encounter tough enough to be fun and freak them out and get them really angsty, but whoa, this could be it. And not have them just mop the floor every time. And 5e makes it really hard to do that because of what you just
You
described.
as a team
got-
have to
so
make
the
sure they
idea
can
of this
rest whenever they
exhaustion
want
and
to.
You've also got short rests. You know,
Yeah.
and short rests, I think,
And they fix
really-
that problem with
Listen,
short
yeah,
rests, yeah.
You know what? With the short rest,
I have
you just
to-
have to send mooks to interrupt the short rest.
That's-
You know, if they know where they're at, go interrupt that short rest.
So I have to drop Jay in just a minute here.
No
but
problem.
It's such a great topic, and again, just thank you to everyone. Carlos, you know, you and I were just having a little bit of fun, right? I love nothing but love for you and the devil's advocacy. It's just it's a great time and all a good group. And yes, I think even things like that with being knocked unconscious. I think if I was playing 5e, I'd be using that exhaustion feat or feature rather. When my campaigns, you get knocked unconscious, you can be healed and brought back, but you're going to be disoriented. You're going to lose a round of action even after you come up. You go down a second time, you're not coming out of that, during that combat. So you don't just make it feel like it's this Gumby rubber band thing that they can do up, down, up, down, up, down, which again feels like a computer role-playing game. So I think, again, back to this, at the end of the day, I think we've all got great concepts here. All these different rule sets can work. And I just think it's a robust conversation. And I'm glad the community continues to grow. To me, the biggest thing about 5e is it's making the pie bigger. You know, there are more people coming into the game. And if you look even at the games I'm playing, like I said, I think 80% of my players have only played 5e until they played in my campaigns. These are people that were introduced to D&D by 5e. So I just think it's a great thing that's expanding the pie, whatever system you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
John,
that's
thank
one
you.
of the things about my channel and community is to try and grow and get new players. And I just started a game a couple months ago made up of people I've never played with before. I went out, put out a posting and said, sign up for this thing. And I went through and had some questions and I picked people I've never played with because I wanted to get more people playing. And we're having a blast. I mean, it's a blast. So that is a nice upside to 5e, but I think that can easily be accomplished in any setting. And that's, I think that's important that's come up several times tonight is, we need to emphasize that one setting isn't better than the other. You may like one more for your reasons in that, but man, they're all, if done right, I think they can all work in any ways, really.
There's a lot of different opinions on this exhaustion deal and and balancing and additions, and I think it's not the addition that matters. This is not meant to say it poor about anyone. I think as the more years you do it, the easier it becomes to balance. Right, Carlos? Would you say that? I mean, because
I would.
with 30, 40 years, I'm like, oh man, if I do this, my guys are going to go like this. But then that always is not the case because with a critical hit system, that can throw whacks into everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that simple, but you get a know-how for your players, and you're like, man, I got to really up it a notch. I got to make a change, this or that, and throw them a little curveball.
I feel like that
So, go ahead.
that experience you're talking about tells you what to keep and leave too. I mean, for example, we talked about the fact that I have a lot of first edition experience. Well, yeah, that first edition experience taught me that there's no way I'm using the pummeling, overbearing, and grappling rules. There's no way I'm using weapon length, things like that really do bog down the hell out of a game.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also think that what kind of rules you have especially for recovery and healing and stuff, it depends on which style of gaming you're running. If you run one shots or stream games or something, when you want the action to go forward, you don't want it to bog down. You can't lose a character for the rest of the the adventure, so to speak. You want them to come back and be heroes straight through. Then do the 5e easy, pop them up, and they're good to go again. But if you run a long-term campaign and stuff where you have downtime and that is part of the whole experience of the player, you simulate the character's life, then to have long-term healing and the characters need to be gone for a few weeks to heal up if they met a dragon or something nasty that almost killed them makes perfect sense. So I think that's kind of also a consideration, what type of games you're running, how you run them, so to speak.
Wow. John, thank you. John, thanks, man.
Congrats again, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, John.
I
Yeah.
tell you guys, I was so blindsided. I had no idea.
That shield is so beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
Yeah,
what an
that's great.
honor!
I'm jealous.
What an honor. Yeah, because every time the Living Greyhawk people come on, I'm going to be like, yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
well, the next thing I'm going to compile data-wise is
Let me try.
who has what shields.
Yep.
I just haven't compiled that yet, so.
Awesome. Awesome. John, have a good one. I put the invitation out to Frank. If he has the right connections,
Yeah.
he'll hop on. I got a couple roundtable questions here.
Yeah.
John, I'll see you Tuesday night's game.
Okay, thanks
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye, John.
Bye,
Thanks,
Take care,
John.
John.
Bye,
Appreciate
John.
it. Bye-bye.
So, all right. Here we go. Question. We haven't even done rules. A lot of rules quirks yet. Give me something that's unique to your game, rule wise, or just that you think is real. And it doesn't have to be about streaming. Just as a DM, Scott would throw out something.
I wish I could take credit for this because it really helps, I think, with the players and that. But we use potions can be consumed as a bonus action.
Okay, for
I
5e
may be
in 5e.
just completely emptying Pandora's box onto the floor here.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
But I picked this up off another stream, and it really changes the dynamic of things you can do in the midst of combat or action economy, and it really works well.
I think it's the big stream you're probably taking that from, right? I think Matt
What
Mercer
current
Actually
role
got
does
it
that?
from
talked about that.
Castle Mac was the stream. I got it from some friends of mine.
Oh.
They're no longer
What
streaming, but,
happened to them?
It may have.
I sued him into the
come from
Stone Age
Crit Roll.
for using Castle at the beginning of their name.
I mean, they did. What?
Well, they spelled it wrong. They spelled it with a T.
Yeah,
So.
they've been they disappeared. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but because they had a
Yeah.
good stream.
It's a great stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you finding with that change, I know what Matt Mercer publicly said was, it was just lame for someone's action for that 15 minutes while you're waiting for the initiative to go around the table is I pull out a potion and I drink it when you're in the middle of some climactic fight. So that's why Matt Mercer said he changed it to a bonus action. Are you finding that this helps the flow of combat and the thrill, like, oh, I'm at 1 hit point, now I'm at 11, I can keep fighting and etc.
Yeah, I look at it as kind of a lubricant almost as far as making things happen in combat. And it's, there's a lot of classes in 5e, in my opinion, that are a little bit, they don't have as much to do when, especially in combat sequences. And so it gives them another effect or another opportunity to make something happen. If you don't, once you get into 5th and 6th level where all the martial classes are making 2 attacks and somebody has a feat and they can make a 3rd attack with a bonus action. And I'm over here playing this class that, I'm going to cast magic missile and then sit for 20 minutes. It does give that a little bit of extra involvement, I think.
Yeah. I think I need to adopt that for my 5e campaigns because I'm pretty mean to my players, quite frankly. I mean, no shock there. I'm Bandit Kingdoms guy, but I think this would be something I could give back to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're being so nice."
Eb9 asks, why did you personally, Scott, decide to use it?
I had seen it in the Castle Mac game, and it does make a difference, especially if you're in a bad spot and you need that that potion of healing, right now, and still want to be able to take a move action and get out, disengage and move.
Okay.
So I just, again, between that and those, there are some classes that are not as action oriented, and I think it helps them.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, so that was Greek to me, being no 5e guy. But now I got to remember that the next time Anna and I go on the big bad, that we're going to try and
Yeah.
hopefully, well, maybe it won't be 5e next time. Carlos, how about you on this question? Because you.
Well, first of all, I was going to say you're not the only one that was Greek too. I was having a very difficult time following that because it's so foreign to the game.
Yes, because
Right.
you and I are such a different style, but that's okay.
What were you going to ask me now?
What is something very unique to your game that you do, rules wise, or with the way you handle characters?
Well, I playing first edition. I think that people lose sight a lot of the time that hit points aren't health points. Hit points are a function in first edition
of your ability
of
to
luck,
avoid damage,
of moving around,
yes,
of armor, of things like that.
Yes.
So when people get hit by things, they might be surprised that I rolled like a 3 or something like that, and it hits their armor. or they might be surprised that I say that something missed them, take 5 points of damage, things like that, because I'm reflecting your hit points as in the dynamic way that they're meant to be like that. And I don't think that I see that a lot on streams. I'm not saying that nobody does it. Don't get me wrong. It's not totally unique to me, but I do think that's unique to my stream. I don't see that a lot of people doing that. Yeah, I just remember the other day that somebody in my game, they were hit by a very large by combatant. Their shield caved in. The entire front of it was like concave. And it was a roll that they felt, that they thought they should have been dead from. And no, it wasn't. You just lost a ton of hit points because your hit points do not equate health.
Right. I forget who said this. Hit points in 1E are the ability to not take damage, your ability to avoid damage, basically. So
Correct.
that sword's hitting the same character differently, and that's what hit, so that's,
I think people get confused with the fact that it's
Yeah,
armor
point.
class. They think that armor class is your ability to avoid, damage, and it's not. It's your ability to avoid being hit directly. And
yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
That's what I do with. I think that's unique in my stream. I don't see that a lot from other people.
Very,
But
very
and
good
I see
point.
that I see some people over there. Somebody mentioned Extort mentioned my descriptions of combat are kind of gross. I guess I do that too. Yeah. I'm pretty visceral.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. I go theater of the mind because I'm lazy when it comes to. I don't want to spend days making maps in Roll20. I'm just not that guy, and so I try to be as just descriptive, as I can.
Here comes
And I
Frank.
like theater of the mind. That's what I was raised on. Again, I did have a box of those dwarven. What was that old mini that had the green? What was that company that made those back in the day? It had the little foam rubber insert with the little spaces for all the little pewter minis. I can't think of the name of it, but I had my token set of minis, but we never used it.
Grenadier?
It was
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
Grenadier.
it sounds like
I
Grenadier.
believe that's right. Yeah.
Hey!
It was all theater of the mind. So
I
I like to
wondering when
describe,
Frank
and I
was
want people to feel what's happening that way. So I'm with you, Carlos.
Yeah, it's very important in my games. I want the players to become invested and immersed. And the best way for me to feel like I'm doing that I'm doing my service to them in that regard as a DM, is I want them to feel every bit that like they're there. I want them to hear the arrows hissing around them, whistling around them. I want them to feel the hot breath of the ogre as he's bearing down on them, about ready to take their head off with a tree trunk or something. I want all these things to be present. And I think that being able to describe dynamically damage like that in a way, I think that's something that helps that immersion. And it certainly is
That's why I want to get
my disgusting descriptions are certainly meant to do that. I want to provoke a visceral response in them where they're like, oh my God, I just splattered that dude all over me. Well, yeah, guess what? That's what happens when you hit somebody with a two-handed sword sometimes. If it's a sword of sharpness, you're going to rip somebody's head off. Okay. It just happens. So, I don't know.
Hey, Frank. That's a great
Hey.
description.
That's why I want to do the crit tables.
Yeah.
Crit tables
Oh,
are going to help me with that.
Crit
for sure.
tables are
Well,
awesome.
for me, crit tables are a big no-no. And the reason being is, I was going to mention this when we were talking about crit tables before, but I'm a 1E guy, pretty much strictly, as I mentioned, and crit tables are really they kind of cut against the grain of the system real strongly. As far as a hit is a hit, damage is damage. And you got to remember, I think players forget that crits go both ways.
Oh, yeah.
I start pulling crits in against my players and stuff like that. Man.
No, my players don't forget that because I've taken off ears.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And things
Great
like
for
that.
Noses.
Even in 5e, I found a third-party publisher had 5e crits because I did get Tim's from Jay, and I thought about adapting them for 5e, and it was just way too much work because he's got piercing, slashing, bludgeoning, 0 to 100. And also, there's no, Tim, if you're still listening, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, number 100 isn't the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, those aren't Tim's.
No,
They're Allen's. They're
I
Allen's.
feel like that
We jumbled
when
them.
I read those,
Oh,
when I read
Allen's.
his crit table, because I have it too, my thought was, okay, he got that notion that 100 isn't the worst thing that can happen for you from the Rollmaster crit hit system.
Yeah.
Because that was like that too. Where Rollmaster had adopted that, it 100 wasn't the absolute worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
It was
we
whatever.
did that to just jumble it up for ease.
Yeah, yeah. I felt like that.
Yeah,
That was
because
I
you
get
knew you
that,
rolled
but
high. Oh, you know. So.
logically, I want, like, if you roll high,
uh-huh.
it's either good for you or bad for them or whatever. And
Oh,
yeah,
that makes
Seeker,
total sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
I just
lingering injury charge. Yeah,
just
in
kind of
5e.
a notion of where that might have come from, though, is where I guess I was going with that.
Gotcha.
The
You gotta,
comment.
you gotta. It's all because my players, and it's done just so it's mixed up, just so they don't know that when they rolled 98, it's going to be a much better effect than as they rolled 0-4 on a percentile dice.
For what it's worth, Casey, I actually agree with you. I would prefer it to be a little bit more straightforward than that, but that's me.
Right. That's just my brain.
Yeah, me too. I'm like that as well. But I also think that as far as dynamic combat and things go like that, I do that kind of stuff with critical hits and things like that, missing ears and missing fingers. I do that with normal damage. You take enough damage from me, I'm
Ooh.
just telling you right there. Okay, you lost an eye. Now what?
One thing
I'm
I would
like
love to do in any system that's 3.x or 5
Yeah.
is that 10 hit points of damage means you have 1 point of bleed damage per round
Yeah.
after that. Because one of the things I think the game fails at is the fact that an injury is just a one-time event.
Right.
Unless you
Right.
have a special bleed effect in 3rd edition or 5th edition. So in my brain, whenever I get around to doing, Casey's version of D&D when I'm retired and rich, if you take 10 points of damage, yeah, that'll be never, you
I
take
have
10
complete
points of
faith in you.
damage, you take 1 point of internal or bleeding damage until you get healing or someone puts a bandage on you.
Cumulative, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's cumulative because that would then put the pressure on, oh, I'm a fighter with 99 hit points. Okay, sure. You've been whacked. Here's 15 points of damage. And then next round you lose
That's
one. And then
nasty.
you take another 15 and you lose 2.
And it
then you
also
take
puts
another
the onus
15,
on
you lose
clerics
3.
too. It also
Right. It
puts the onus
just
on-
starts adding up when you
Oh
get
my gosh.
when you have a ton of hit points. But
Yeah, but you
the
give
other
them
thing-
tools to mitigate that with, like you said, a healing kit or the feet, or even
Exactly.
a medicine roll to staunch the bleed. It's not like it's a death knell,
right.
but
you
it
just
makes
have to
it.
spend the
You
action.
shouldn't be the same fighter at 99 hit points as you are at 4 hit points. I mean, that's just not realistic. If you
Yeah.
think
Right.
about that as a percentage of your, stamina, health left.
If only
Yeah.
Len were here to discuss this, because I know his thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So, Frank, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Frank
Frank, good to
is
see you, man.
he is a great 5e DM. I'm just going to
Oh.
flat out say that. And really, his game flows very smoothly. If you've ever watched it on Nightheart Gaming, multiple nights, a lot of stuff. And Frank DMs for Reaper employees on every other Friday, correct? On the Reaper
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah.
So he's got his act together here. And what do you think about this discussion on addition and some special rules you use? Let's hear your thoughts.
I try to be. I mean, you've covered all kinds of good stuff. You just kind of you did just recently go down the gritty rule side of it, obviously.
Yeah.
I try to stay kind of edition pure to what I'm playing in
Okay.
usually. So most of them have enough optional rules in them as the editions moved on and they were adding to them, and somebody missed something that was in the back somewhere, that you can still use an optional rule and claim it. Like some people use flanking in 5th edition. It's optional, pulled over from the other editions and stuff. So I guess in short, I try to find the purity of what they were trying to do in the basic rules and make it work. But and I mentioned something earlier in chat. I think it's because I like a box. I really like a box. It helps me sometimes. And I do have, whenever I get urges to go outside of that box, I always overcomplicate things. I'm the person that would make the really gritty rules. I'm the one that at heart, I loved weapon speed factor and spell speed factors and re-rolling every single round, and all those speed factors go off at the same time. I loved the crunchy gritty, but that's, as you all know, that's way complicated and hard to
Especially for
play.
a stream.
Oh, it would be nightmarish probably, unless it was really honed down. So
Yeah.
I try to stay in the box. It sounds weird, but I try to invent things in my head that make excuses for those rules that make no sense. Like I know Carlos had mentioned things earlier about initiative. Like the thief waiting at the door is gonna get your initiative off first, or but what if for that moment they looked up and they weren't paying attention? They said, "Oh, I saw something." Right? It's a role play opportunity because it was a negative. As much as like the realism when I think about it bothers me, including the hit point discussion we were having, you definitely wouldn't be the same fighter. Maximum hit points versus breathing it out and getting your last breath. But again, then I think of it in terms of superhero movies and cartoon animation and anime where they stand up and take their last breath and suddenly they're invigorated enough and let them pass out at the end of the fight. I don't know.
You just hit on two things that I really think are really salient. For me, the game, well, the first thing is you mentioned about being game purist. And I cut my teeth as a Rebirth DM in the convention environment. I think it's important to remember for me is that everybody has the basis of understanding the rules. For example, when Jay and I,
that's a good point.
We're going to run over at Gen Con, okay? I must have asked him like this 17 times before the game started. I said, how are we going to ensure when you're running your custom rules that everybody knows exactly what they're doing, what their capabilities are, what we're doing? He's like, yeah, I got it covered. He was totally fine with it. For me, there's no way, especially with a bunch of hardcore grognards that have an expectation of how the rules are going to work. For me, I agree with you, Frank, that having a rules purity is useful. It certainly was for me when I was running a convention game. Making sure that was there was so important. The other thing I wanted to say was, and all of a sudden I just lost my train of thought completely.
That's okay.
Yeah, forgive me. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's gone. So never mind. It's not that important, I guess.
It's okay.
Well, that's all right, because I can jump in on that real quick.
Yeah.
And then I'll
maybe I'll remember
step out so Anna can jump in as well. But
yeah,
Jay has so many things that he doesn't even consider house rules at this point because him and his crew have been doing them for so long that as he starts inviting on these special guests, celebrities for his Saturday, big event shows like Luke Gygax and all them, or even just us Living Greyhawk guys who we used to play AD&D a long time ago, most of us. I've really been telling Jay, hey, you've got to make a primer or primer, however you want to pronounce it, for your game. Like he has this rule of 10, right? You can either move 10 feet or you can, and do an action. You guys know what I'm talking about. But so I think he needs to codify that. And Carlos, you probably would need to as well, to hand out to people saying like, hey, look, here's a quick cheat sheet for how the action economy works in my game. There are no reactions. There are no bonus actions or whatever. You can move 10 feet and still attack, but a 10 feet is 1 inch if you're outside or 2 inches if you're inside, things like that. Because in AD&D, right, it was 1 inch was a yard if you were inside and 10 feet if you were outside. It was something weird.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I just remember what I was going to say. Frank, you mentioned the superhero rule of superhero movies and things. At the heart, our game is wish fulfillment in a lot of ways. Okay. Our game, the reason why people like to play this game is to be somewhere that they can't possibly be. It's fantasy. It's something that it's to embrace an experience and become someone else. And I think that wish fulfillment plays a heavy dose in that. So the notion of grittiness versus that too is also, I mean, there's people that enjoy horror movies where everybody's going to get slaughtered right from the get-go, and there's people that enjoy the your rom-com where that's never even in a possibility. So I agree with you in that you kind of almost have to look at see what your players, what is their what mechanism do they derive enjoyment from in the game. That'll tell you a lot. That influences the way you the rules that you choose to employ and not too. So
good.
Yeah, I was to say one of the things that I think is kind of interesting. There are different ways to play the game when it comes to the relations between the DM, the role of the DM compared to the players. If you have a lot of old school games were very adversarial, meaning the DM was supposed to, you were supposed to outsmart your players with traps and encounters and if the players didn't know the rules, you as a DM in some games, some DMs you rule that against, meaning the play, oh, you should have known that, use that spell that would have worked and not the one you tried to use and stuff. So in some groups they love that and thrive. That's a lot of the part for some gamers. This is the essential thing of the game, is to try and outsmart each other that way. But for me, I don't see my role as DM or game master in that way. And so I don't expect my players to know all the rules and stuff, and I want to present the options to the players, meaning if they play a powerful fighter, I will tell them, your character knows this. He knows, or the powerful wizard, he knows this. He knows that that's the option to use. You can know this. So you have to be your character's advocate, so to speak, and help the players if they play. But on the other hand, if the character is kind of half dying, have no clue about things, whatever, then you can kind of give much less like. So I try to help the story and the action along by helping the players play their characters and not be adversarial, so to speak. It's not my job as a DM to try and prove the players dumb and me smarter than them. That's not the idea of my role-playing game at all for me, not one bit, because I will lose. I don't think I'm smart enough to fool hardly any of my players. So so for me, that's not part of it. But for some people, that's the essential thing of the game, is to try and have that interaction. So yeah.
Guys, I need to leave.
I see you
I wish I
crashing
could
there.
stuck around and listen to Frank more, because I love listening to you speak. But
yeah,
I
I'm
see.
sorry about that.
It was wonderful talking to you,
Carlos,
Mostly, I only intended on being here for like a half hour. I just wanted to be here for the Shield presentation.
Oh man, that was so awesome.
I
And
was so sad I couldn't be.
I know you're working next week, but if you could hop on for 5 minutes and say say a thing or
I'll
two,
do what
if
I can,
possible,
man. No
it would be great.
promises, but I'll do what I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Carlos, for hopping on.
Yeah, and absolutely. It was great actually getting to see you in person, Wiley, and always great to see you, Casey and Anna.
Yeah, man.
See you guys
Back at
later,
you.
and
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you again
Thank you.
for
Take care.
the community. I'm glad I could have been a part of this.
Yep.
Talk to you soon,
Yeah.
Carlos.
Bye bye.
Bye. Cool. All right. So let's get back on a question or two here. So Frank, you do not, outside of 5e, you don't do anything a little crazy that you unique to your game, really? You maybe the thing that's crazy or unique to your game is you're such purist on the 5e rules.
So I make, I think there's really only two tweaks I make to the rules, because they're sort of confusing for most people and really, really bogged down things to implement the way the rules are. And that's the inspiration system. You're supposed to call it in advance before you use it, and I don't force that. I let them do it after they've made their roll, and then they can ask, "Hey, can I use my inspiration?" I'll say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my players forget all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, too.
And it feels really, really punitive to do that when you've given it out for someone being heroic or whatever you've given it out for. And then, God, is that really the only thing? No, there's probably some little thing somewhere else, but it's something along. Oh, it's the casting a cantrip and a spell. One has to be a bonus action, one has to be an action. I still enforce that, but I don't care which one is which.
Okay.
Technically, there's an order you have to do it in, and make
Oh,
it
is there?
either way.
Oh, I thought it was just as long as one was a bonus action and the other one was a cantrip.
Interesting.
It didn't matter which. The thing I'm leaning towards is saying, I don't care. It doesn't need to be a cantrip. You've got a first level bonus action spell like shield, or, well, that's a reaction, but you know what I mean. And then you cast a third level fireball. I mean, fighters get the multiple attacks. You know, let the wizards have a little bit of bonus action cheese. It's mostly probably going to be defensive or a pissant spell most of the time anyway.
Yeah, if it's a bonus action, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not going to like tilt the thing all
Yeah.
in the favor of the wizard or caster.
Speaking of inspiration, the one thing I do in my 5e games that's unique to me, Jay, is that when my players kill a monster with a critical hit. Now in 5e, that's just either a 20 or 19 to 20 on the d20 dice if they have improved crit. But if that takes the monster down, that character earns a d6 inspiration die that they can then use in a future combat.
Do you mean added to
during
a die 20?
to be added at a later time, right? To a
Okay.
die 20 of their choice,
That's interesting.
saving throw or whatever. But that way, I really like it when monsters get killed by crits. I also like it when characters get killed by crits.
What do your crits do? Just double damage?
So I use this third-party chart that I found on Drive-Thru RPG, and I don't have it up in front of me, but it's very similar to the Dungeon Master's Guide has a lingering injuries chart in it in 5th edition, but it has it for all different types of magic, has slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, etc. And I could look it up. I'll put it in the chat here in a second in case anyone out there is playing 5e and is interested in this. In my game, you roll the 20, that's a regular crit, double damage, but you immediately get to roll another 20 to try and confirm it. Like in 3rd edition, you had to confirm crits.
Yeah, John
And
does
if you
that too.
roll another natural 20, so that's a 1 in 400 chance of happening, you get a super crit. And then that's when you roll percentage dice. And I consult this table and it has the lose a hand, lose an arm, chop somebody's head off, things like that. And it happens very rarely. In one campaign, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, it keeps happening to one of the PCs. This dwarf fighter type has had 3 of these things happen to him. So he's got crazy, he's missing part of his ear, he's missing, part of his nose or something, and he's got scars all over him. It's great. But for the most part, it happens pretty rarely. But any crit, just your base double damage crit, you kill the monster, you get an inspiration die from me. Because I don't give out any other inspiration as a DM. I don't give you inspiration for finding the secret door. I don't give you inspiration for bringing me cupcakes. We've got a bard in the party. The bard can pass out inspiration all day long.
Oh.
Yeah, I like to have the players, I'll let my players carry 2 inspiration, where I think in 5e the rule is you can only have 1 and then you have to use it before you can get another one.
Oh, I don't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, I let them carry 2, I still haven't got them doing it much yet on stream, but I'll have them. A player can award another player inspiration, and you can do that once as an awarder, and you can collect as many inspiration up to 2. So that way they're not always getting DM inspiration, and so if somebody just does some incredible role play or they make this really great save in combat or whatever, they can reward one another too. But I don't make them tell me they're using inspiration until they need it. Like, oh man, I just blew that roll. To me, that's inspiration. That's divine intervention. Or, like I think Frank mentioned, it seems punitive to, here's this nice thing, but got to tell me when you're going to use it first. It's a waste. It's just a waste for me.
All right, so I just answered Big Al's question here, and I think we all want RP of Roberto Hobring any day, but I put you all be proud of me for this one. I have something that someone was talking about. I don't understand it, and it's going to go to your 5e guys, maybe Anna too. I'm going to put this up real quick. Skill challenges in 5th edition D&D. Okay, I want you guys to explain this to me. It says they were the best kept secret of 4E D&D.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, okay, Frank, good. So
Well, I'm sorry. I don't think they're the best kept secret.
What, they were good though. And
I think they have their place, and definitely in a streamed game they have their place.
Okay, so Frank, why don't you start this off and help me out with this? I think does this have to do with opposed skill chest, or does it have to do with ticking up miss, win, win?
It's like it's to boil it down really simple.
Okay.
I think the easiest way to think of it is it's so many successes before so many failures. You set the DC on certain items they need to do, and the players just choose a skill to use to accomplish those things. So the chase rules kind of fall into this. I think they came out with Waterdeep. They had some chase stuff in there.
Okay.
For 5e.
Yeah. Plus the rooftops. Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're running down an alley and someone, there's people in your way. make a skill check to get through the group of people. And a player might go, I'll use my charisma, or someone might say, I'll use my strength, or I'll intimidate them, or whatever. And you make a skill check. And as a group, that will sort of project you forward. At least I like the group version. I think it could be on an individual basis too. But then if you fail too much on the skill challenge, then you fail the challenge, and you don't get that carrot, whatever that carrot was.
Yeah, but that's a Pathfinder thing. It predates fourth edition.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
It was called the Chase or something like that, and you would have
PF2 is full of it. Yep.
Yeah, you would set up a boxes instead of on your battle map. You would have there's a cart in front. You're chasing a bad guy, right? And there's a cart in front of you. Use animal handling to get the horse to move the damn wagon, or use acrobatics to slide in the mud under the wagon. Now the guy's on the rooftop, use this to chase him on the rooftop, use this to climb in through a window and run through the building, things of that nature. And I do agree. I love changing it up, because there are some characters which are not going to be great at combat who are going to be awesome at skill challenges, and they should have a chance to shine as well. And plus, not everything needs to be a fight. Sometimes the bad guy just wants to get the hell out of there.
You can, and PF2 is full of it, and I've used versions of it in PF1 for a long time. And you can, the cool thing is you can use one skill to unlock another one. So you can use someone who's perception, or you can use diplomacy to unlock it, meaning they can see that interaction happening, and then you can use another one to use a knowledge skill to figure out something else, and then to see that there's a hidden weapon that someone has, because or there's something. You can imagine you have a dinner, so to speak, at a dinner party where there are peace negotiations and stuff like that, and then you roll around, you go around, and you can use diplomacy, or you can use knowledge nobility, and they realize that that kind of the clothing they have or something like that has a ritual dagger built into it, and that is not supposed to be there, or whatever. And then you can use perception and stuff, so you can kind of build it almost into combat. You can build it into research, and often I do use points. So if for instance they're going to research the true name of a demon in order to be able to dispel it or banish it to somewhere, then you can use, say that you have to use research, and every successful skill check, so to speak, they need material or whatever to do it, then you get 1 point. And then the other side can thwart you by obscuring evidence and whatever, and get rid of points, and whoever gets to 10 first wins that thing. And that can be kind of the major part of a campaign, to find intelligence and stuff like that. So the points is kind of just for me to keep score on which side is first, and that can kind of build. So that's what I use skill challenges. And then you can use one skill to unlock, meaning if you succeed on doing this, that makes the other easier roll. You get +2 on the roll, or +4 on the roll,
or you get a surprise round.
Exactly, you get exactly. So you can use that to, and that's one of the key thing I think with the games that I try to run it, is that when combat starts, is not supposed to end the story. The story and the action is supposed to I ease into combat and I ease out of it. A lot of DMs is they roll initiative, and all of a sudden the RP is out, and
Guilty.
Yeah, and you all of a sudden it's number crunching, and how many pluses do you have, what armor class do you have, and stuff, and that to me makes the game boring. The story needs to continue while you have an encounter. It should actually enhance the story, so to speak. What is the bad guys after? What are they doing? What are their goals? And how do they try to thwart the players or the characters into achieving that goal and stuff while they're doing the combat and stuff? That should be kind of the key part of an encounter. That's why I often start the encounter way earlier than combat, is because I run way more outdoors than most DMs do, I think. So and the encounter might start that they see the enemy up there by the road. It's half a mile away. And all of a sudden come, okay, what we're supposed to do? Should we run up? Should we try and circumvent them? And should we have the reindeers run off somewhere and try to snipe using a bow and arrow from 500 feet away because he's so damn good at it? Or should we just shout and yell and see if we can lure them here and keep the other ones in the ambush? So that way I lure them in, and that means that they can run away or they can get all the options. So I try to make it so that way you get a lot of interesting things that they can buff themselves instead of moving if they want to and stuff. So there is a lot of things that I try to do differently than a lot of other games. Yeah.
Scott, how would you like to
Like
close
that.
that discussion out on that topic? that I
One,
brought up?
the only thing I could add to that, I mean, I'm over here taking notes. I'm burning down the pencils. But I've seen, I was in a game where we did a skills challenge, and the DM had each player participate, but you couldn't use the same skill the most immediate player used. So you had to build on
Oh, fun.
what the other characters were doing, and it forced you to lean on all the things that make your character unique and make them an individual. And I love that idea of because I'm not real big on here's the combat, there's the end of it. I'm a big narrative. I want emotion, visceral, like Carlos said. So, and I think a way to do that for the crunchy people in the house that love skills and dice rolls and all of that mechanic is to have the whole group participate, but put a few conditions on. If you're going to use stealth here, then the next person up can't use stealth. You got to find another way to approach this with wherever your best your proficiencies are and so forth. Really makes them think. Love it.
I think this is cool from Pathfinder to 4th to 5th, and it's much more nebulous the way Carlos and I handle it in old school, right? Because we just are because that skill set doesn't maybe exist as much. Maybe in Tim's it does, but it's kind of a lot more what happens in the course of investigation or whatever. But it's cool. I mean, I saw that in discussion somewhere, and I was like, I want to ask this about this, and so I'm glad I did. Very, very cool. Because it's always good to see what future editions have brought to the table, and that's one thing that I was not even aware of, really.
I think the group stealth check is probably the one in 5e that I think of the most for this. Just Jay, and I think it's something you could easily incorporate in AD&D, and I forget if it existed in third edition or Pathfinder, but 5th edition the DCs can be awfully low, but you got to remember that the fighter is not going to be making great stealth checks because they're going to be at disadvantage in heavy armor.
Yeah, depending on their armor. Yeah.
But if you get 6 PCs, what's it say? 4 out of the 6 of them need to succeed 3 times in a row or something like that. So essentially, you've got your quiet people turning around and telling the big loud ones, "Shut up! Don't step there.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Follow me." And it makes sense. It's not some sort of magic where they're not clanging around, that they're being careful and they're being helped.
See,
showing them how to keep their armor quiet.
Okay. Interesting.
All that stuff. Yeah.
Interesting.
And you don't have to, playing off what Anna said. If you treat it as an extra element, sometimes that some players don't like that. Like combat roll initiative. Okay, skill challenge. Do this, and now there's role play. There's skill challenge. There's combat. And with skill challenges, unless you need to put some rules around it, you can just slip them in and never say it. I do it in almost every game. The last game we played with Anna, actually, I slipped it in there when they were trying to do some deceptive stuff and never said skill challenge. I just said all have to.
It's a way for me to, as a DM, to keep track of things. It's not something I tell the players. That's a lot of the hidden stuff. Meaning, and sometimes I even let the players make both rolls sometimes, and just make a roll and tell me, so to speak, and I just keep track, because that will tell me what will happen coming the next day or next week or sometimes even the next month. So yeah. So it's part of the campaign building fun, because I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want to be in suspense too, so to speak.
All right, let's toot our own horns here for a second for us that stream. We all have attempted one way or another to get the audience involved.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I would like to say that I think I've done that pretty successfully with the hero point system I have. And making them specials. And I know, Frank, you use a lot of inspiration. Scott, you do items, correct? Do you do potions? Yeah. Okay.
I do. If folks want to donate to affect the outcome of the game, just small donations like 500 bits or something, we give them the opportunity to award what we call a +2. So they can award a +2 to either a specific player or to just the party's pool of +2s, or they can give it to the DM. So if I roll a D20 and or a player rolls a D20, and they ask, hey, if I use a +2, is that going to get me where I want to go?
So you can do it after the die roll's made.
Yes, after the die roll.
Okay.
I
Kinda
just
like a
don't like
special
to
hero
make
point.
people
Okay.
commit a gamble, a resource, unless they need it. And then if somebody wants to donate a little bit more, it'll give a D20 reroll. So kind of like granting inspiration. So that's how we go about doing it. But I'm newer to my own stream. So I haven't really perfected how I want to get people involved.
Especially
Like
when you
hero
have a different rule
points
set.
thing, I wanna look at it.
Every time you
Yeah.
got to do it for each different
Yeah.
one too. That's
Yeah.
a challenge. Frank, your
Yeah.
inspiration, and I saw in Anne's game, it could be a random effect, correct?
Oh, well, we have two different things, and there's one thing I really wanted to make sure when we're in the game, and I'm gonna say that this isn't great for income necessarily, but I think it's good for community in ways. I wanted to make sure that if like viewers are not ones that can afford to give money, they have something special to just them that no one else can do, and that's the inspiration. Inspiration can only be given through channel points. That's
So
it.
through
There's no other way
10,000.
to do it.
Okay.
So it's apply time, get points, give inspiration.
Cool.
And the bits, the cheering is, so that's actually in both of our campaigns now. In Maximum Maiden's and campaign, it's basically a wild magic event, and she creates these really wild out there events on tables before, and she'll roll randomly and it'll happen.
Yeah.
All kinds of really out there stuff, right? And then in Dungeons and Dramaturgy, same thing, bits. Once you hit your goal, and in Maximum Mains, there's gates that you get through. There's like 3 gates where you have minor things that happen, and then you have a major thing so that you can get a little bit on the way. And in Dungeons and Dramaturgy, it's just once you hit the top, then one major event occurs. And in that particular game, I'll throw some monsters at them, or we'll do what's called a flashback, and I'll say, go to D&D Beyond players, roll up a random character, make them all elf barbarians. I don't know. And then level 5, and then they roll them, or it may not even be that specific, just all dwarves level 5 and roll random. And then I'll take them to a scenario, which is just a real quick, boom, here's a scenario that's a flashback in time, and you can change the outcome of whatever the thing you're doing is right now. So let's say they were fighting something and someone donated and hit that event. You go back in time, you come back. If you failed, maybe there's more of them. If you succeeded, maybe you're already halfway through this fight, or you're done. So you get to change history, but as completely random on the spot characters.
It is very cool because yours is really unique to any stream I've seen with that wild event. It's just like, wow. Very, 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 what's the word? Unbelievably well thought out to do something that crazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you would be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, at the amount of debating. It's almost like creating a rule system behind the scenes. Like, oh, this didn't work. This didn't work. Let's tweak this. We got to do this. How do we get inspiration? How do we get interaction, but not too much interaction? If Daddy Warbucks comes in and lays down a lot of money all of a sudden, like, how do we not spoil it for those that can't? And how do we also make that not take the game so far off the rails that it ruins it?
That's wonderful, Frank, to hear that.
It is an awesome, it's awesome. Definitely. For me, mine's 2-tiered. And we never had special hero points until cheering started on Twitch. Regular hero points always existed. They had to be done before the roll. If you do a 10,000 turn in, you can add to a character's regular hero points total. And then the specials every 500 cheer gives us specials. And specials are so key in my game because they can undo critical hits. So you still get hit, but it's no longer a crit, and they can undo fumbles. So, and
See, that
Casey,
needs to go in your primer.
What's that?
That needs to go in the primer so that the
if
new
I do
people,
a primer,
because I'm always telling the new people, save the specials for when you get critted. Because sure, the little rat crits someone. It's not likely to be crazy, right? Triple damage, double damage. But Jay could kill you with a critted rat bite if he rolls that 57. Lose an arm or lose a head or something stupid.
True, but then again, sometimes you want to use it in that course of gameplay where, my gosh, now's the time I got to hit. Yeah, so But and Anna is like the charmer for when Anna plays. She's the magnet for getting special hero points to the
Okay.
group.
Yeah, I don't
So,
know what I've done to deserve that, but yeah,
but
I
the
haven't
good
run any games. That's why I'm still popular. So
the good thing is that we all have systems, and I think that I don't know if we've all come across something that was unintentional, but when I look on other streams, all I see is a list of dollars and do this, do this, do this, do this, and I don't think that's encouraging. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not. I just think that the way the interaction that we all are getting on our shows is really fun, and I think it's better that it's not written. I like the spontaneity of things. Does that make any sense? Am I talking about my behind here?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the thing as a newer streamer I'm struggling with, because I'm not trying to make a career in
Yeah.
acting
Yeah.
by streaming or in revenue by streaming. I mean, if I could get it to cover its own minuscule expenses, that'd be cool.
It's more
But
the
like if I'm fundraising,
interactivity.
that's a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out like what's the right balance to make it fun for the audience to want to throw a couple bucks. And like Frank mentioned something really critical there. You don't want to have the game get out of hand
That's it.
by somebody drops a bunch of bits or whatever, and all of a sudden nobody can ever miss again and nobody can ever die again. And I mean, I suppose if your stream is all about that, that'd be one thing. But so what I've done, rather than post everything somewhere on the overlay or anything, I've just got a little shout out, and a couple of times during the game I'll just punch it in and it explains, hey, if you donate $5 or 500 bits, here's what happens if you donate 10. And I just let it go at that. And if people want to see that in perpetuity, they've got to scroll down below the video on the channel to see what the actual setup is. So, I guess if I were trying to turn this into a business and a revenue thing, I'm not doing a very good job of marketing how you should pay me. But that's not what my stream's all about. My stream's all about getting newer people involved in D&D
Right.
and stuff like that. So I struggle with that, because I wouldn't mind a couple more bits here and there or whatever, but I don't want to send the wrong message, and I certainly don't want it to drive the game.
No,
I want it to enhance it.
I think the if you think about it, and one point I'm trying to make is, and Frank, back me up here if you think I'm correct. If you do it in the reverse thought process, it actually works out better for you. And that is, you make your audience aware things can happen, as you go. Like I don't have written down anywhere, hey, 500's that hero point. I just have that there's a system, and I have it written down, but no specifics. I think that's the point I'm trying to make is that there'll be interactivity from the fans as they're like, oh wow, man, I can help save this character, or I can have this special effect happen. Or Frank, does that what makes sense?
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. It's this I could talk for hours on it, because Ann and I have talked in hours in the background behind the scenes. How do we get someone to enjoy it, and yet at the same time, I want it to pay for itself too, right? I'm not trying to get rich off of it
Right.
necessarily, but I do want, because for our major games we bring a camera operator in, and we have a technical director, and I pay them, and I want to continue to pay them out of not my pocket, right? I want that to happen from the stream. So I do want revenue. And I don't want to push it on people. Like the last thing, everything I do on our stream is trying not to push it and make the minimums. I don't do
Right.
like I have on those shows, there'll be one bar that has the how many bits of donated, and it's usually a percentage. I mean, as Jay, I don't even put logo. I don't put my own logo during the actual. It is people and it is terrain, and I've recently found a way to sort of make text bubbles come in and out, and people larger when they talk. So when they're not talking, they're small again, and it doesn't interrupt the game or the scene. Like I go to my utmost to not interrupt the play, and that part of that is the bits, right? But I want people to also feel like they're interacting.
Exactly.
Like how do I get involved? Because you're there, it's a personal event. Some people may just want to watch the story, but I'm not I'm not Matt Mercer. I'm not the greatest storyteller in a lot of people's minds. I'm okay. But the call for other people is to be somewhere and want to engage with it. So how can I let them engage in a fair way? That's almost everything we try to do. How can I make them engage in a way that's enjoyable to them?
And here's a little funny side story. So the logo thing, Frank goes, just for you, Jay, I put the Virtual GreyhawkCon logo on the stream because I don't do logos for anyone. I was like, thank you, Frank. That was awesome. So one other quick thing, Frank. So when are we going to see Barrier Peaks again?
So, well, we've discussed, Anna and I've discussed this, of limited like short run stuff in the house, and we can only have one short run stuff going on at any time. We have Guardian going on right now, and that ends in December, I think. And so then after that, it'll probably be Barrier Peaks. We're discussing which is next. But,
yes. So
but
2021.
Anne also wants to do Hamlet still, so it's not necessarily.
That's cool too.
You're happy with either of those.
So will that be Barrier Peaks and 5e? Like, didn't Goodman come out with a recreation of that?
They did. So I did. I didn't use Goodman's for Virtual GreyhawkCon. I sort of revamped it and went off of some notes that some other people had released on Drive-Thru RP or DM's Guild. And then I found out later, Goodman Games came out with a version, but I had remapped it and done some things. And I'm one of those DMs that can take, a novel, like even current Adventurers League, they go, this is 2 hours. And I've sat down and played a 2-hour mod of adventure for 8 to 12 hours and feel like I still cut half of it out. So when I look at Barrier Peaks, I'm like, I can make a whole short run campaign on this.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's the plan.
Oh man.
And the great thing was your players had such fun.
Oh, and they had no idea because they're newer players or had never played in it. So when we sprung the sci-fi portion on them and I hit the button and changed all the overlays to sci-fi and turned lights on and did like glowing map overlays for them, they were like, what is this?
Oh man,
I want my Shadowrun
the
character.
visuals were unbelievable,
so
Frank.
Exciting to see a player excited again about something, and I loved it.
Yeah, and just it's great. Just seeing, it shows that, on a tangent, there was some genius there with that sci-fi crossover D&D idea. Back in the day, wherever it came from, we still can't get that information. We got to go back and ask Jim Ward, Metamorphosis Alpha, Gent, Gamma World, who really came up besides Gary. Maybe Gary was trying to appease him, where that originally came from, because that is just, so outside the box.
I always think about it in terms, I don't want to hog this, this is down a rabbit hole, but I think about it in terms of what was in the mind at the time, right? You're like right before the release of the Aliens movie, Star Trek was coming off of some movie. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on in sci-fi. It just makes sense that it was in people's mind. Star Wars
was just out in 77.
You had like a lot of stuff coming together, just screaming for sci-fi involved, and I don't know who was driving that in particular, because I know it was like a primer for a game, but it was so when I went back to redo it, I tried to keep that in my mind and think, and I updated stuff in the new stuff with nanotechs and nanobots and things that would be, because right now badging and stuff is like going to work for people, and that wasn't very exciting, but because it was exciting at the time anyway.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was definitely, I went off on a little tangent on that one, on to access a little bit of the streaming aspect on it. So,
Let me jump in as a player only.
Go for it. Yeah, sure.
Because as we all know, I'm not streaming yet. I was hoping to do the BK tournament as a stream, but just didn't have enough time to learn it. One of the things I love is the participation, but one of the things that me as just, I don't know, short patience, old grognard or whatever, is when someone gives bits, but they do it like piecemeal for a long period of time, like 100 to me. I'm like, that's cool, they're supporting the channel, but it's also like a super distraction to me as a player or watcher, because it's making noise and it's popping up on Jay's screen. I'm like, couldn't you just give the 500, which is very awesome, I appreciate it, thank you very much, but I don't know, that's just me.
See, all right, I
with
like.
you.
Grumpy.
Nothing pops up on my screens. For that
Yes,
reason.
I have to. I am a guy. I'm 53. I like D&D. I'm sorry, women, and I'm gonna keep my Legends of the Secret women. Sorry, that's just the way it's gonna be, right? Because it's fun. It's fun, and I
No,
fight.
no, no. I get that. It's just when someone don't gives you 500, but they do it by doing 100 5 different times.
Well,
Or
I'm not going to
tens.
complain if Canadian does that or
Well,
Extort
I'm
does
not calling
that.
anyone out specifically. I'm just saying to
I'm
me,
not going to complain.
I'm just like, it's like being in a friggin' casino at 3 a.m. in Lake Charles, Louisiana. It's just
That's pretty
I don't know. That's
descriptive.
just me being grumpy. But
I
obviously
understand that.
donations are
It's
awesome.
in case you like me, you don't speak Twitch. It's like half
It
the
is-
stuff that goes through in the channel with all the icons or whatever. I don't get it. And yeah. So
Yeah, it's just one of those little quirks that it
Yeah.
appeases
but
and
it
entertains
looks
me.
fun. It looks fun and so on. It's just that I don't
Yeah.
get
Quick
it.
story. I told this I think last week too. We get there at the end of Virtual Greyhawk Con with Luke and Eric and the whole and Steven Chenault. And it's the largest stream we've ever had. It had a 198 average. I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. Well, who knows about next weekend? But with Len. But we had a monster game at the very end. We're done. We're all sitting there, and it was I think it was Eric. He goes, "Hey, what's up with all the women showing up in the pictures
Yeah.
in the corner?" Because I never explained to them. What's about to go on during, and so then I explained to him, and he goes, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah.
What show is that? So there you go. So and if it doesn't matter, it's just every channel has their own little quirks and has their own little nuances, and I think that's a cool thing.
And that is
you
the
know.
interactivity. Like I
Yeah.
get to give money and I get to see something happen on the screen. That's kind of
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that is the way Twitch. I know that I go and counter to it, and again, it hurts me in the long run. In some ways.
No, not necessarily, because
Okay.
it's not. That's not necessarily the case. Frank, I don't know. People are. What's your regular crew's used to that as
Oh yeah,
well?
the regulars very used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Wiley, what do you think about what you do on yours? You like the frill of throwing up some custom gifs, or
I use a stock little graphic that shows up. What I try to do is and I don't know because I never listen to my own stream. I probably should, although I'd probably be horrified at times. But the sound of it when the explosion goes off and all that, and then it explodes after the explosion. That's the part I would like to do without, because when somebody gifts a handful of gift subs, you get 5 subscriptions pop on. And I mean, hello, love that. Thank you for the support. But it can be distracting audio wise.
Super distracting.
Yeah.
Wait,
but
you
that
gotta have
is,
the audio turned down on those.
yeah, and I do have it all turned down on my end, but I still hear it in the headset, so I don't know if it's coming out on the stream. But the sound is probably the biggest thing. But I'm like Frank, I'm a little bit of a hey, dig me over here. So if I throw 500 bits out there, it kind of feels cool that my little name comes up and then somebody goes, hey, but people like to participate. But I think if I could manage the sound, I guess I need to go back and watch a couple VODs.
you can lower it.
Because I have it lowered in the Twitch in Streamlabs down to 0, and I muted it and I stand on it, to try and keep it out of there. But I like to encourage people to participate in some way. So I think for me, I need to spend some time watching Frank's game. I'm a little ashamed of myself, Frank, but we'll amend that shortly.
Like
just
that.
learning.
Look, Lex just cheered one to be smart. Hey, George
Yeah.
just cheered one. All
Hammer.
right, George.
Yeah, here it comes.
No,
No,
increments
you
of
can
100.
actually change the setting on that too.
Right.
And you can actually
when I
set that,
first
yeah.
noticed this was when Jay had someone on like an Eric Mona or Jason Bullman, and it's really cool that people buy subscriptions for other people. And I know that John and other people do it all the time, but they bought 10 subs while Eric Mona was talking about something, and it just for 2 minutes or something took over the Twitch stream. So we know that John obviously had great intentions of supporting the channel. He wasn't, or whoever this was. I'm not meaning to call out John. He's awesome. So I think if you keep the volume down on that, that's fine if the visual pops up.
Right.
Because the guests,
Still
you,
gets
all of us,
acknowledged,
are
yeah.
in Zoom, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at Jay through Zoom.
Yeah, we don't hear the channel.
I've turned
what's
it down.
happening on the channel. So
I will
yeah.
try and turn it down one more or two more notches. I will make some tweaks to it. But I want, like, I don't know what was going on when Tim was doing all his proclamations here. I missed that hype train. You guys finished the level 5 hype train. I imagine it was constant during that whole time. I want the people participating to feel like they are appreciated, and
Oh, absolutely.
that is, and another, the community is growing, the community for all of us, and let's all take the
Yeah.
ride together. So it's been 3 weeks for my latest submission for the Big P with Twitch, and I've heard nothing. So it's a good sign, because normally I get rejected in 7 days. So I don't know if that means I don't know if that means
That's a good sign.
anything.
That's
All right.
a good sign.
All
Yeah.
right, but who knows? But the minute it's done, the first thing I'm going to do is create that streaming team, if it happens, and get everyone on a team together. And that way, you press a button and then you can see everyone. That's the whole idea. That's the number one reason behind it. Let's pray and hope. Grape, I thought you were asleep. Oh my gosh,
Hey,
make some
Jay, I've got to pop off, and
Oh, I know
head
we're
out,
running
but-
running super late tonight, and
Well,
so
I wanted to say you deserve the shield.
Well,
I
yeah.
was part
Yeah.
of that crew, and wish I could have been on
Aw,
earlier for
dude,
the
thank
presentation.
you.
Tim, you did a brilliant job, and Extort for organizing. So thank you. But kudos, that shield looks
Derek, yeah.
amazing.
That is, I'm so overwhelmed and shocked, and just this is like, it is beautiful, everyone. I mean, it is awesome, and I gotta find a great place to put it downstairs so that it shows constantly during the streams. I got to figure out where to put it. But it is wonderful, and
Yeah.
now I have my defense against all their Living Greyhawk shields. So
There you go.
Yeah.
And
it's
then on a more serious note, I told Jay this privately. Obviously I'm sad at Lynn's passing,
Yeah.
but I think one of the things we can remember is that we were lucky, to get this time with Lynn. Those of you, Anna and Jay, who were close to him, but Lynn was lucky to get that time with Jay. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
so in his final years, while he was in pain and dealing with his medical issues, he was able to form this bond of friendship. And he was doing it on Facebook, posting his characters and talking to people. And without Jay, I'm not sure we would have had anywhere near that level of participation
Yep.
from Lynn. So, I think that's something, while we're sad and grieving, need to keep in mind, that you guys enriched his life just as much as he enriched yours. So,
Casey,
and with
thank you.
that, the final thing I'll say is I'm getting ready for the charity event.
Yes,
Look what arrived.
sir. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll be signing these and getting them to Jay well in advance, because last year I failed.
Yes.
So I'm off.
we
Thanks,
need
Wiley, Anna, and Frank. It was great chatting with you guys,
Yeah, man.
Jay.
See
Yeah.
you soon, Casey.
Yeah. And we've got some great Living Greyhawk people lined up for November and December.
Casey's doing some amazing things behind the scenes for Living Greyhawk. So
Stephen Radney McFarlane.
oh my.
Hey, awesome.
And
Yep.
he's working on Chris Tulak too, which would be a huge score there too. So, all right, we'll start winding things down a little bit here. As oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to set the minimum to 50 here. Yeah. Don't make me act. Don't make me act like
That's funny. That
what's
is
his name,
very
Shroud, or what is it? Oh, it's I don't want to cheer for one, but oh my gosh. So we didn't get as far as I thought we would on additions here, because of I didn't know this was happening tonight, and we did a lot of Len discussion early on.
Yep.
But I will say good night, Casey. Thank you so very much for the kind words. If I were to categorize myself, I'm going to categorize myself around a 1.75 edition. And the reason I say that is everything I do gets back converted to first edition. So if I like the Knights that I went over last week, their prestige class idea for the Knights of the Holy Shielding, but they're also I got them from the Knights of the Rose, the Crown, from Dragonlance, which is a first edition rule, and they are now first edition class in my game. Every class I have is a first edition class, you know. So I don't think I do stuff like if I take a third edition feat, I convert it into the first edition proficiency system. So that's why I'd say I'm not 1, but I'm not 2. I don't know. Here's a quick trivia question. Name a class in my game that does not have a written down spell list of all the spells. Name a spellcaster class that I have that does not have a spell list written down in its entirety.
Bard?
Incorrect. I have a bard list.
Damn.
Eric?
What's that?
You have a. Go ahead.
Did you?
Cleric.
Base cleric is one of them because you have the Unearthed Arcana list, but then you have a couple on the side that we added in that are not on a list, like repair injury is base cleric now, and it shouldn't be. That's one of them. There's one other one.
Do you run anti-paladins in your game?
They don't have spell casting.
They don't.
Because they don't have
Okay.
a special, they have a clerical list, so or whatever. Let's see if Maester is not. Nope, Maester does not have spells. Priests have. Yes, that's funny. The answer is straight mage, magic user, because I have all this. I have those second edition books. I have all the stuff that's in all the Dragon magazines and all just copied. And there's no list for it, right? Because there's thousands of mage spells that they may be able to research or find. There's spells in players, what do you call it? Greyhawk Adventures and stuff. So mage, standard magic user, I don't, but elementalists have a list. Wild mage have a list. Illusionist, necromancer, they all have lists. So that's it. It's base magic user and base cleric are the two answers. Everyone else has a list. Just a bizarrety. So there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fensick word on his I need an intern. Nah, man, you should not. All right, let's close this up in comments on what you'd like to say in closing there. Scott, why don't we start off with you, and we'll do shout outs around the second time. So go ahead.
Okay. As far as closing comments, one of the things that I had made a note of that I wanted to just illustrate is I don't think, I think too many people hear Greyhawk and they think, well, that's got to be first or second edition. I don't want to play that because I don't understand THAC0 or whatever the complaint is, and I think we need to dispel that line of thinking about Greyhawk. And I think our conversation went a long way to that tonight. Greyhawk is rule set agnostic. It's a setting just like any other setting. And it took me a little while to get my head around that because, again, I started in Basic Edition in 1982, and that was Greyhawk, and so that's what Greyhawk is in my mind. And I started up again in 2018 in 5th Edition and Faerun and Forgotten Realms. And, man, I had my Greyhawk game that I talked about earlier, the Into the Borderlands game that I ran for 2 years. I had Ravnica set in Greyhawk. I had people from Ravnica were the big bad villain. It was a Rakdos, a witch of Rakdos. So I mean, why can't you be that non-agnostic? So that's my thing. My takeaway is, Greyhawk is not rule set agnostic, or is rule set agnostic. Doesn't matter what rule set you're using. Greyhawk is a rich, lore-filled, amazing setting, and I encourage you to play with it.
Thank you.
Great points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you had fun during Virtual GreyhawkCon too.
Oh, I sure did, man. I'm glad I just took a swing at that and went with it, man. It was a blast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anna.
Well, I love discussions like this because I feel I'm very much an amateur in dealing with these things. So for me, it's kind of awesome to hear and learn from people that I know more about it, run way more games than I do. I've run a lot of games over the years, but it's still something I feel I'm very much an amateur compared to making maps and stuff. So and that's one of the beauties of maps. They are rules agnostic. So you very much can dodge the whole rules mechanic. If you write adventures and stuff like that, then what Carlos do and others get woven into the mechanics discussion so much. But maps is one of the few things in role-playing games that are very much, for the most part, very rules neutral, so to speak. So that's why I can kind of sail through this normally without too much of a hitch.
Cool. Frank. Thank you for coming on, by the way. Really
Oh,
appreciate you hopping on.
thank you for allowing me to dial in there at the last. I was just sitting down and thought I'd chat, and suddenly I was not in
It's
chat.
awesome.
So I mean, I agree that I want to say. So first, yes, absolutely, I totally agree with everything everybody said. Greyhawk is definitely rules agnostic. Also, I think this might be a little cheeky, but if you've ever wanted to like influence a campaign or a world when it's influenceable, like Greyhawk's a great one to choose. You want to get out there and do something. It's always been a great one to put your own spin on, but knowing there's no official after snapshots in time. It's all you, right? It's all you as a player or DM. This is sort of your world to play in. If you're looking for one that actually has lore, things you can reference, and then start from there and move on, do whatever you need to do. I think that's one of the beauties right now of it, especially in its current position. So I hope a lot of people pile on that and do that. I'll also say, Anna, I was looking at your map when I did Barrier Peaks, and it's rules agnostic. Obviously, I did that in 5e, and I was like, I wonder if Anna put this ship site on here. Where is this? I didn't see it. I was looking for it. Anyway.
Is the crash site on, Anna, for Barrier
Not
Peaks?
the crash site. No,
No.
I kind of skipped it, but some of the other stuff are there. The cities and the Qualish, the laboratory, and the city. Some of the settlements, so to speak. But the crash site, I didn't know what to rule or what symbol to use, so to speak. So I guess I have to kind of come up with some special symbol and put it in there. So yeah.
Just even a ruin site, don't you think?
Yeah, a special site symbol is probably it,
Yeah.
so to speak. So yeah, it's but the interesting thing is that some of the maps that are in the adventure shows the cities and some of the other named location, but doesn't show the ship itself.
Yeah.
So that's the other weird thing. So I didn't have very little to go on. And it's these weird maps that are not geographical, they're more technical in nature in these adventures. So you can see how many encounters you get in various directions. But it doesn't say miles or the type of terrain and stuff. So it's kind of it's a little bit tricky. And it's also, I have a hard time with sci-fi in my fantasy. So that is probably another big issue for me when it comes to that.
Yeah. And Jay, you did deserve that shield. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
so glad I got to be here and watch it get delivered.
It was quick story. So Tim got me on the phone last night, and I'm like, because when Tim starts talking, normally Tim talks for a long time in personal discussions. I'm like, what, he starts going and he goes, you got to figure this mic thing out. I'm like, I just was like, what?
He sent me an email about that last night
I was
too,
like,
and I
you
was
can't mess with the mic, man. You can't. And see, we're trying to get him on. I cut the stream off twice, so, but it just was funny. I had no clue. It was completely blindsided by it, and it was really fantastic. So I'm totally honored and humbled by this, and hopefully I don't tear up again. But I imagine I may. So how about shout outs? What is going on, Scott? What's going on? What do you got going on this week, game wise?
Yeah, so this week, Monday night, 7:30, we're going to play Mysteries in the Dalelands. That's a 5e campaign, relatively new. That's the one that I just put a call out for bodies and said, hey, who wants to play D&D in the Dalelands? And found 6 people that had never played together. One of them I knew from my real life game, but he'd never been on a stream game before. And so we run that every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern. All times are Eastern. Wednesday, we have a 5e game with most of the crew that started with the Into the Borderlands game a couple of years ago. That one started over on Castle Mac and migrated to my channel when we opened it up. Wednesday at 7, that group is playing. We're running a published adventure right now, Dragon of Icespire Peak that came in the Essentials kit. So another 5e. And then on Sunday, Wu-Tang Piglet is running Geek Dice and I through some dark tales of Greyhawk. And in fact, the name of the game is Greyhawk Tales, and we're having a blast, and we're using Pathfinder First Edition for that. So those are the 3 games we're currently streaming. From time to time, we'll run like a short run, 6-8 sessions like we did as Spy Hunter. One of the folks in my community writes a lot of stuff. Sean Van Dam writes a lot of stuff for Sly Hunter, and he ran us through a game, so that was pretty cool. So we'll be doing some more of that, and I definitely want to get a little bit more Greyhawk going. I'm so invigorated by what's happening in Jay's community, and I was really nervous about trying to run a game for Virtual Greyhawk Con, being a newer streamer, and that went really well. We had a great time with that. A lot of people came in and had that was one of our better watch streams, so that was pretty cool. So that's our show schedule, and I just super humbled to be a part of Jasper's Game Day. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but it's an organization that supports help for folks that have mental health, especially suicide. If I had to sum the mission up in one quick sentence, man, we'd love to end suicide, especially for military and youth. And I was just recently chosen to be an ambassador. So you'll see a lot of Jasper's Game Day stuff coming up on my channel.
Nice.
And I think that's going to be a primary focus for our stream, is to support that, run some fundraisers to raise money for and awareness, to try and get rid of the stigmas and the nonsense that goes on around mental health. So it's a super personal thing to me. And Fenway Jones, a young lady that kind of kicked that off a few years ago after losing a couple friends to suicide. I think she was 14 when she started that.
Wow.
And it's gotten as big as anything in D&D now. We do a Jasper's Game Week. They've had Chris Perkins and you name it, they've had him on there. Satine Phoenix is really busy with it. It's just a really cool thing. So super humbled to be a part of that. So that's really what our channel's all about, is just a good, safe place to play, some good D&D, and really, really happy to come on and chat. What a blast. And Jay, just personally, thank you so much for what you've done with classic D&D and getting Greyhawk, really charged up with the community. And that Shield deal just blows me away. Just couldn't be more well-deserved. So
thanks.
way to
I'm
go, bud.
still
Way to
like
go, man.
shocked. I
Yeah.
can't.
Really
It
cool.
is going in a place of permanent honor there. That thing, I can't wait to get that thing up showing.
I think that's how you know you're DMing well. I really do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And without everyone watching tonight, and without all the participants, and without the community, we wouldn't have had a virtual Greyhawk Con. We wouldn't have had a fundraiser last year, which which went fantastic. And I'm so excited even about. I'll discuss that at the end here this year. What's going to hopefully happen with that shortly as well. So, Anna, what do you got going on?
I'm working on the heraldry appendix for my atlas, and I have 12 pages ready to be posted, and a couple of more coming. So they're, and yeah, graphically, I think they look splendid. So it's been a lot of fun to do that. And I've also invested quite a lot of time, probably about 40 hours the last week or so, on the new generation Greyhawk maps, and they look spectacular. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the apart from the experimental part that I will do for my own shield lands, which I'm not 100% sure that all of it will be quality enough to be on the future map, but most of it I think will be. But also the Lendor Isles is going to be the first area that will get the official treatment of that, so to speak, and that is looking to be a lot of fun and to do, and it's going to, yeah, it's can be awesome to have an area of the size of Lendor Isles in 5 feet per pixel, which means that I need to make some considerations. I will make an official version that match lens content as much as possible, and we have to realize 5 feet per pixel means that buildings that are larger than a porta potty will actually be from porta potty sides upwards will be visible on the map as so meaning buildings and streets and stuff be there. So I need to take a look at all the location, the villages and the towns and stuff. Thankfully, Len had a lot of that sketched out. I need to probably tweak it a bit because his sketch are more engineering wise than actually beautiful city renders. So I have to kind of adopt them into the terrain. but that's part of the deal, so to speak, to get it. But I realized that a lot of people want to make your own version of it. You want to make your own, meaning I want to have a village over here and I want to have a road going that way. That means that they will come a layered Photoshop version where you have all the roads and all the buildings and stuff on separate layers. You can erase them or you can draw in your own ones where you want them. That's one of the things. So the raw files that I'm actually using will be available as Creative Commons, first for my patrons and then eventually on my website as well. So you can make your own version of this. So you're not tied into just because officially there's a town there or I decided that there is a road there, meaning my campaign, someone else's campaign, oh, you don't want that. Then you can just go in and delete it and save it again, so to speak. And I will have special videos made on how to do the editing of this and have some live streams or something like that, because they will be GIMP, so you can use GIMP. You don't have to use Photoshop. You can use GIMP for this. So with a little bit of anyone can learn how to do this in an hour or two. And that means that you can tweak my maps into an area is burnt down. You can kind of make a burnt down thing on top of it and stuff.
Wow.
So there is a lot of, I want my maps to be as adaptable as possible, because I know that I want to run it a certain way and I want others to do it. So a lot of consideration have gone into how to present, make them customizable and stuff like that. That will be a huge part of this going forward. So yeah, so that is coming. So and now the base work has been done, and I have a whole bunch of other stuff lined up that will come with it. So areas of, and hopefully when I get a better computer and a newer version of the tools, I will be able to work on much larger areas, like 100 by 100 miles in one go. That's the goal, so to speak, so I can do this faster. But it will be fun because you can kind of present, you can treat the outdoors as a dungeon, so to speak. It can be as detailed as a dungeon. And for streaming games and stuff, you can actually do overland and show this is what the location looked like and stuff. So yeah.
Anna, are you playing in Frank's
Exciting.
game this week? Is it this?
Yes, I think it's upcoming. Yep, the upcoming Thursday. We're playing what is this, the 6th session, I think it is. Session number 6.
I think it's, is it 6 or 7? It's
Yeah,
6.
I think
Yep, it's 6.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Out of 10, I think planned. We'll see how many will be. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Beautiful.
It's a lot of fun. Yep.
Frank, including that, what's going on with your channel this week?
Well, this week is Anne likes to refer to it as Hell Week, but it's our busy week basically. We still have our Tinker Tuesday on Tuesday, right, where we're crafting and painting and doing things and she might be remote. She's in California, so we'll see how that goes, or I'll take it here. And we're supporting, our D&D streams with that. That's 7:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And then Thursday, I'm squeezing in before our Guardian game. Our Guardian game starts at 7:30 Central Daylight Time, but at 6:30, I get on for pregame, which is actually every Thursday, but it's earlier on that day, and make a drink that's themed for the game that night and talk about what's coming, so people can kind of get warmed up and ready to watch that game. And then we have Guardian, which, yes, Anna does play. When Wizards released actually I was thinking of it about the same time. They probably were first, but I'm glad they released that content. When they released Theros, I was like, ooh, I'm going to take some of this because I want to use some of it. But I did have to make some custom characters, races, of which Anna's playing one, a Medusa.
Wow.
So that's what all the players are playing, Greek. It's definitely a Greek setting.
Yep.
Mythology sort of game, and I've very much stolen from Greek myths to make it work. So you'll know what's happening probably if you're familiar enough with that.
And Frank, it's also a shame that Reaper Bones add-on for 2021 hadn't
killed
come
me.
out yet.
I will say that I have some things that no one else has that might make an appearance.
Oh, you got awesome.
Ooh.
So that is good. I mean, that is awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's going to be handy. And then, and speaking of Reaper, Friday, I'm not on our own channel, but I'm DMing on Reaper's channel for their sculptors and painters, and that's always a fun game for Reaper Errant. And that's at 6. Does that start at 6:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time? I think so. Ton tons of fun. There's a fun crew. You can tell they've known each other for years, working with each other on different things. So this is like Bobby Jackson, like these sculpts that you see that you're playing with on the table all the time. I get to DM them, and it blows my mind.
That is
to have
that is
Bobby
so cool.
Jackson and Jason Wiebe and Gene Van Horn, and then their painters Michael Rhonda and Jen. So I love putting a mini that they sculpted and watch them blame each other for sculpting it.
That's
You sculpted that. This is your fault.
Oh, that's great.
It's so fun.
That is awesome.
And then Saturday is our Dungeons and Dramaturgy game. That's at 4:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and that's sort of our that's as our true D&D game. All of our other streams are honed on this channel to sort of show what we support, and one of those is Dungeons and Dramaturgy, Maximum Maidens on alternating weeks. And so yeah, that's our real D&D game on that stream on that day.
And
Sorry,
back to Reaper, note that I believe Frank and I are still the only two D&D streaming channels that are sponsored by them. Mostly everyone else are pure crafters, correct?
Are we really the only?
I don't know of any other
I'm not
channel
really
that's a
sure.
D&D streamers it's mostly crafters. I mean, you do a lot more crafting than I do, but you're a D&D
Yeah.
streamer first.
Yeah.
So it's
Wow.
an honor to, and they're such a
It
great
is.
sponsor. They are, they're very cool. And whenever I ask them for a fundraiser or something, I got Michael Collins on, and I said, "Hey, Michael, I have this virtual Greyhawk Con. You want to sponsor it, and I'll do all the work for you." He goes, "No problem. How much you want?" I was like, "All right." So, and then we did all. They're a great company. All my sponsors are fantastic, but they're a great company. I gotta say it. Just great and easy to talk to people, just down to earth people. Frank,
Yep,
I know
very
you
down there.
have
They care about their community.
absolutely, and just love them. So, all right, what's going on here? So, let me get out to this. So Wednesday night, I haven't even started working on this yet, so I'm way behind my normal J curve, and that is Famed Monsters of Greyhawk. So Gary, if you're still on, you're going to really need to step up and help me out on this one and come on. So myself, Mike Bridges, and Anna will be on. We're going to try and stay away from dragons. I don't know if I'm going to be, with the amount of research I have.
Mention at least one.
Yeah, that's okay. I just we're gonna try and go and try in that Halloween theme. We're trying to see where we can go with this. But for me, it's going to be normally I'm prepped up and have done a lot of work on this, and I haven't. So yeah, there you go. He cast that ninth level lore spell, Gary. I'm going to count on you on this one. So that'll be Wednesday. We didn't do one last year, and I don't know why. 2 years ago we did, and it was a blast. So the next adventure, okay, I always cheese on the titles. The Curse of Sleepy Extreme Bridge. All right, so it's gonna be a one-shot Halloween. It's a Halloween one-shot. It's actually set in the Principality of Look, and yes, I don't think it's a Reaper. I think it was a Whiz Kids, but there is a Headless Horseman. So there you go.
All right.
All right. It's going to be a fun, and it's definitely a one-shot. It's definitely the terrain's already set up, and Bill is working on some more 3D roads, the King's Roads. He's going to have them. Hopefully, I'll pick them up and get them into pictures. But everything else is already set up for that. Reaper is. I have these. I never gave them away, Frank. I have those pizza dice with the
dungeon dice
with the
those are
minis inside
great.
still.
Yeah,
I'm going to be. They're nice. I'm going to give them away on Thursday for that.
Great
So
giveaway.
yeah. So Reaper's going to be the giveaway sponsor for the show on Thursday night. A little bit more serious. Our next game, Gabbin. After that will be the Leonard Lakofka tribute. That'll be in this time slot next Sunday. Right now, Anna, John, Josh Pop, Jason Jacobson, Puppet Dad, Alan Growy. I'm assuming we're going to have a lot more people who want to hop on and say a few words, and that'll be perfectly fine. My rule was if you ever were on a stream with Len and interacted with him, you're more than welcome to come on. And I want to try and limit it to that Hollywood Squares of 9, but I'll be putting people in and out. But let's give Len the tribute and the celebration he deserves. And I couldn't do it in 2 days, and that's why we're going to do it next Sunday. I think it'll be
good.
Thank you. I think it'll be a really, really warm and touching discussion. And it'll be a lot of humor too, because Len really had a wit about him. I'm going to try and pull out a couple of clips from other previous shows to have some fun with that. Yeah, Amy, you're more than welcome. Absolutely, definitely. Just note that. Very cool. Definitely. We want to make it a true community celebration and farewell to our friend Leonard. I almost teared up there. Sorry. The week after that, a huge in 2 weeks, Skip Williams is coming on Legends and Lore because you prefer a Wednesday night, and that'll be a week from Wednesday, November 4th. So we'll see Skip on. That'll be a very interesting discussion. Great guy, and does a lot for Gary Con now, and did a lot for the Roger Moore era. I didn't realize he was the Sage Advice guy for years in Dragon Magazine. So we're going to have Skip on the show on Wednesday. A week from Thursday, something I've never run. It's here somewhere up here. I'm putting it against Cole the Reptile God. Wow. I've been working on it, yes, and I changed the town from Merlane to Lorraine. It's on the map. It's northeast of Narwhal on my campaign in the Wild Coast. I've never run it, and we're going to get to that. It'll be at least 3 weeks. I'm thinking it's 4, but that'll be the Narwhal Headhunters group. The symbol's up right here, right next to my head. That's the Narwhal Headhunters. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I put 24-hour plus this year because I've had a ton of channels that want to be involved. The Greyhawk Mega Stream fundraiser event, Under Dark Uprising. How's that sound, Frank?
Sounds good.
It sounds good. I think instead of having a joined story where from beginning to end, it'll be a little bit easier if we have 8 channels involved. I think it'll be better that everyone maybe have a little, whether they do Coatoan or they do Dark Elves or whether they do whatever, and just a little bit more heavy metal, a little more disjointed than we tried to connect all the storylines with the Falcon last year. I think right now those are the channels that have said yes. Will is like a maybe now with what's going on with his channel, but Trollord has said they want to participate. Right? Wiley, you want to participate? Great. Sorrow's Tale wants to. So we're going to start on the Friday afternoon, Friday night, and run. So some of the newer channels are really going to get a shitty time slot. Okay, Scott, sorry, but you may be streaming in the middle of the night, Saturday morning or something, 4 a.m. or whatever. But just note that we're going to do it based on how long you participated in and where you are in the food chain as far as how much you can raise. And we raised $2,500 last year. I would love to crush that this year. I think we can. The community's so much bigger now. So look for that's a funny joke. Only Good Align Dark Elves lunch tell. No, the only rule I have is no other channel can use a Clavdra because that would drive me crazy. So, but that's okay. So no Clavdra anywhere running around except because we that. But then again, I'm not the Living Greyhawk people. I can't tell anyone what to do anyway. So, all right, yes, we will try and really crank this out. I'm not going to set any goal. I'm not going to say double it again, but let's see how much we can raise. And please mark that date down: Saturday, February 20th, 2021, which means we're going to start Friday the 19th now, because I think we're going to run 32 to 36 hours now. I'll cover my face. And
so exciting.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. And
Yeah.
let me tell you something. Frank running from that time slot he had Saturday into that was such. I mean, it was so much fun. The whole those final 8 hours or 9 hours were unbelievable of it. And of course, you and I, we ain't changing where we are because we are. You know, or I mean, Frank, you did such a wonderful job last year. You guys were fantastic with your game and storyline and all. But if someone wants to move to that Friday night prime time, I mean, there are going to have to be 2 prime time slots. Friday night 8.
Yeah.
You know, if someone wants to jump on that, hey man, I can understand that, and we'll figure it all out. We need to have a meeting within the next. Before Thanksgiving, we got to have a meeting so I can get this cranked out. So I'm looking. Next Saturday is Halloween, and people will be doing stuff. I'm thinking the Saturday after in the morning we'll get a meeting set if that would work. So and then of course you're going to be in my game like usual, like you were
Hey, thank
last
you.
day. You know,
Looking forward to
so
it.
hell yeah, that's right, Bash. Let's crush it. More purple beards and Praters. You know, get Jimmy. I'm excited about that. That'll be the next big thing the community does. We did St. Jude. I think everyone can get behind that. You
Yeah.
know, for children. So,
That's awesome.
thank you, thank you. So, what a great night. I think I'm just going to crash after this and just pass out. I'm just was in so much shock having Tim show up at my door in armor. That was insane. So and everyone that's put that together, thank you. We're gonna raid 20 sides to every story now. So stick on because they're running Ghost of Saltmarsh. So you know, thank you, Gitano. I mean, you mean so much to me, man. Thank you for everything you do for the community as well. So sit tight. It's going somewhere there, Gary. Definitely. Hey, there's our friend Skagith.
Hey,
We
Skagit.
will see you Wednesday night, and now Jay will hit wrong buttons like he always does. So, oh look, I even
Oh,
got the
it
right
worked.
thing up. I thought, yeah, it worked. It worked. All right, let me get this raid set up real quick. And I don't have to move equipment upstairs, Frank. That's only on Thursdays normally. Yeah, because I'm upstairs already here. Raid channel. Yeah, normally I got all the equipment downstairs. I got to run that up. There we go. 20 sides every story. Setting it up.
Ann and I were both talking, and we were like, "Why doesn't Jay move this stuff downstairs?
I
Or
was
get a
just-
second setup."
Yeah, I was wondering if
I'll,
all the talk shows from down there too.
nice. Raiding in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice turtle. I'll tell you why in 1 sec here. Say into the right channel here. There we go.
For sure.
I know this guy. I know 20 sides as well. I know him from. I met him at. He was at PAX Unplugged last year. So. All right, let me go through this. Wow.
Grab a water real quick.
Yeah, please.
I made the mistake of turning. I had to turn the lights on and not turning the AC up to compensate. And this